Hello. Get things together. Alright, this is episode 56 of Snakes and Stogies. Phil will not be here tonight. Casey Cannon is going to be joining me here shortly. So, it's going to be a pretty laid-back show. I think we're going to talk about some herping and some other cool stuff. I'm just waiting on Casey to get here, so in the meantime, I'm going to fill up my lighter, or attempt to. What's everyone up to? Hey, Dan, jump in. So I don't have the Snakes and Stogies Zippo yet, but I did get this one, and then I had a jet insert, laying around in one of my drawers. So yeah, that's on Facebook. Well, shit. Yeah, so I'm waiting on Casey. But the link is, if anybody feels like joining, the link is on my little post earlier in the group with the Connecticut My Father. So, see if we can get this sucker working. Man. What's up? It's not gentlemen yet. It's pretty much just me. Like I said, waiting on Casey. Damn. Yeah, honestly, I don't even log into Twitch. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. I should probably pay more attention to it, but I don't. This is really irritating. Like this. So they make these inserts for Zippo lighters. The tank on them is pretty small, and they definitely don't hold a lot. So it was working fine yesterday, and now it's not even sparking. Also, I guess I can abandon this. Get in there. So on the Snakes and Stogies group, Chris Paintshab made a handful of these guys. Snakes and Stogies cigar holder. We have one in the group right now that's up for auction. We're going to be donating that money to the Rattlesnake Conservancy. And so for over the next couple months, we'll have a few of these up for auction. Chris is also throwing in a My Father, the Judge Toro, to go with it. It's completely, like, he used a water jet, like 55,000 PSI. And I guess had some sort of welding skills, but it's pretty sweet. I really like it. So it's nifty. I use it. If you're in the Snakes and Stogies group on Facebook, I think the current bid on the current one is actually up to $100. So we will have more in the future. I think I'm going to try and get Chris to make some Herpeticulture Network ones. But that you can actually just message me, Bill. I have a few left. I have everyone. There's 6 people that have ordered some so far. They're all going out tomorrow. The sampler is actually pretty good. If you like them on the stronger side, it's definitely a good one. Radical Skedaddle. So good. That's right. So tonight I have a Viaje Summerfest. Guess I could take it out of the wrapper. I have had neither of these. One of our people in the group that's actually a regular at work, Mr. Joe Blenko, gave me these to try out. And I've saved them since the other day. It's a Viaje stuffed turkey. So, real quick, I guess we... Sorry! So, since we usually try to get into some sort of cigar-related conversation, this is a good time to talk about open and closed foot cigars. So you'll see some cigars that have... Let's see if this will zoom in. You'll see it's just basically there's no wrapper on this little bit right here. And the point of that is Casey Cannon's here. That's
what's up, man? Can you hear me?
What's up, buddy? Yeah.
Okay, great.
Just talking about open foot cigars real quick. So the point of this is so you can taste the filler in the binder before you get to the wrapper, and ideally you should notice a change in flavor from the time you start here to when you get to the wrapper. Right there. Some, like you see it in the what the hell is it called? Punch Chop Sueys. It's got a crazy open foot for like an inch. And so that's just to give you an idea of what the filler in the binder tastes like. And then when the wrapper kicks in, that's like the whole blend all together. So I guess I'll start with this one actually and see how it goes. What's going on, dude?
Nothing much, man. I just got back from Walmart, which was
I figured.
Because I had to get this microphone, but it turns out the microphone needs... I thought I could plug it into my phone, but I can't. I have to charge. But I think we only have one person. I'm good. I don't know. Is the chat...
it sounds fine to me.
Okay. Maybe we have multiple people.
I put the link in the group, so I don't know if Thomas or anybody else is going to be joining in. We'll see what happens. But I will say my one complaint with open foot cigars is when you light them, you get the little ash things that shoot off and they fall on your shirt and you burn holes in them. And
Yeah, they do. 100%.
And then I guess we'll get into a little pro tip real quick. When you're lighting a cigar, a lot of people think you're supposed to just like throw it right in there. Like ideally, you want to what is called toast it. So let's see, I keep trying to be in frame. So you hold it away from that flame and you're basically trying to burn it at the lowest temperature possible so you can get the most flavor out of it, because you will literally burn the tobacco and not get as much flavor, or it'll just taste really bitter. So that's why if you see people lighting with matches or a Bic, it's a soft flame. It doesn't burn nearly as hot as a torch does, but torches also get it lit quicker. So for anybody who wants to know.
So on the snake stuff, how are these? How the baby Cyanide doing?
I assist fed tails in 2 of them because I was feeding some other stuff, and so I just cut some tails and put them in there.
That's pretty good.
And they kept them down. I think there was one I had to go back in there after a few minutes and put it back in. And then the third one I haven't even bothered because all 3 look like they're getting ready to go into a shed cycle. So I'll probably just wait until they're all out and see what I can make happen.
So when you're force feeding, how far down do you push the mouse tail?
As far as possible.
Okay.
Because I know like the minute I let them go, they're going to try and worm their way back and spit it back out. So I try to get it down as far as possible. And kind of like with the chondros, like I'll just hold them so they don't really have any like leverage to push against and get themselves off of it. So if you leave them kind of hanging there, they somehow, I guess it helps them realize there's nowhere else for it to go but down. So
Yeah, because I've dealt with that a couple of times. I've used mouse legs, where sometimes they get it where they can work it out, and like if they figure out how to like leverage themselves up against something, they can get it out. But
right.
sometimes like they just get so exhausted with trying to like leverage themselves out, they're like, fine, I'll swallow it.
Yeah.
I'm awful at force feeding. Believe it or not,
Yeah,
the thing
and
I've had
that's
the most success force feeding snakes, and I doubt you're supposed to do this, but I tried it one time just to see if it would work, was waxworms.
I could see where that would. I mean, there's definitely a lot of fat and protein in there.
Yeah, like a little bit. It was a little thing. I think it was a really runty baby carpet that I tried it with, and it ended up not working. But like, well, I'm going to try something, and these waxworms actually seem to go down pretty well. So something's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I do tails because I have a ton of them. I have a bunch of adult mice. I just cut the tail off before I go and feed it to something else. And then they're easy to get down because they're streamlined with the body. It's not like trying to assist feed a pinky, which I've tried multiple times with chondros and cyanea, and I can never get it to work. I don't know how people force feed pinkies. I can never get it to go down. It's freaking impossible. So I just do tails. And then David Brahms with, I think his first clutch of chondros, he actually took some Pangea gecko diet and dipped the back half of the pinky in that, like not like mixed, but just dry. Or maybe he did wet it. I'm not sure. But that's a complete diet. So it's got all the calcium and all the other phosphorus and supplements and stuff that they would need. And he did that with some of his baby chondros. And he thinks, I mean, it's completely anecdotal, but he thinks it did help as far as getting them sort of off the ground and running. So I am kind of interested to try that out with, Boiga, and then getting them onto pinkies as soon as I can and doing the cutting thing I do. I think that'll help. And so we'll see. I don't know. Tails are easy, only takes a few seconds. Just grab them. And I'd rather do that. That was something that was actually brought up in the Snakes and Stogies group, because I posted pictures of that the other day. Like I had a chondro that had a stuck shed and some other stuff, and it's just easier just to grab the snakes, like tube them, grab them behind the head, peel shed, assist feed, whatever you need to do, and get it over with, rather than over the course of 30 minutes try and pick or tease feed. It's like it's much less stressful. Just grab them and get it over with. So that's what I do.
Because I've talked to Don Patterson about baby chondros a couple times, and that's one of the biggest things he says that he does is, like, for the first 2 months, he just immediately starts assist feeding. Like, the way he put it is his theory on why people lose baby chondros so fast is we try to wait them out too long. Like, basically, we just let them get to a point where even if you do force feed them, they can't handle the meal because they don't have enough energy reserves built up from the yolk.
Right.
So what he said was, as soon as they hatch out and like they've shed, just start, even if they don't like offer them food, but then force feed. They'll get the hang of it after 7 to 10 meals or so. But the biggest trick with them is just get them eating something as fast as possible.
Yeah, I've wondered about that, because there are some guys that wait until their first shed with chondros to feed them. There's some people that don't and just go ahead and feed them, 2 or 3 days after they've hatched. I don't know. I feel like they should be pretty well equipped with what they've been given in the egg if they're meant to survive. That they shouldn't have to be fed for a week easily. Like, that shouldn't. If that were the case, I think they wouldn't be as successful in the wild as they are. But
no, I didn't mean it like that. I meant like.
Oh yeah. It's just something to think about.
Like, even with like my baby carpet, maybe my baby brettle, like I let them shed, and then I might even wait a week until post shed before I even offer him food. and that seems to work pretty well. Just kind of give them time to really like flush the yolk out, and then offer them
Yeah, to
something.
like actually get hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then I've
I
heard
don't know,
stories of like worm breeders feeding while it hatches out of the egg, and apparently they can do that sometimes.
that's wild.
Yeah.
I'm
Then
not
again, that
that
might be
brave.
like, snake breeders like to talk and like to talk about things that don't happen, but that is a story I've heard a couple berm guys say is that if you offer a hatching berm, like in the process of coming out of the egg, a like a day old chick will take it. But who knows? Who knows?
Why? What's the
I don't
point?
know.
Cut them open early, feed them early, and then we wonder why they're all jacked up.
Hey man, though, you can breed a male ball python at 4 months old. Got to get those genetics back out there.
Whatever.
That's actually insane. I found out you can do that. Well, like I think some of those like well-established lines you can do that where like they're becoming
Thought
more
it
and more like
was
domesticated.
thought it was something like 400 grams.
Yeah,
They
which is
can
like
breed.
nothing.
Yeah.
If you get a good eater, I feel like you could get it at 400 grams in like no time. But
If it's a solid eater, definitely.
I just feel like
The thing with the Boiga are a little different though, because the Boiga, because especially this is what I was told by Jordan Russell when I got my Cyanea, because he warned me when I got them. He's like, these are gonna stop eating when you get them. You're gonna have to assist feed tails. If you just do that and then try offering pinkies sort of intermittently between those tails to see when they start taking off, he's like, they will come back to eating pinkies, but they're just going to take a little while. And sure enough, I mean, he called it. He told me too, like, this is sort of one of the exceptions as far as snakes go, where letting them go a prolonged period of time without food is actually not good for them. Because they
yeah,
are a high metabolism, they are thin snakes. Of course, my adult male Boiga, for the most part, it is not uncommon for them to just refuse food, for a good chunk of the year, which I've actually come to find is the case with my male. Unless I offer him live fuzzies in a cup, um, he usually doesn't have any interest in frozen thawed. He'll eat it on occasion, but Jordan basically said, like, don't let these go, a month or whatever without eating. Put a tail in them and do it regularly, and eventually they'll start taking pinkies on their own, which they did. So it's that's one of those species where, like, carpets, brettles, chondros, like, if it takes a month or so to kind of get them really interested in going, like, that's no big deal. But that's not something I would want to do with Boiga, just because of how small they are. So
what do they eat in the wild?
pretty much anything.
Okay, so they're kind of just general hunters.
Yeah, I mean, I call them sort of tree ninjas, because I mean, they'll eat birds, they'll eat frogs, they'll eat mice, they'll eat lizards, they'll eat. It's not uncommon for them to actually eat other snakes.
Okay.
They're not like super like hyper cannibalistic like some king snakes are, but I think given the opportunity, if they find one that's a good bit smaller than them, they won't hesitate to make a meal of it. What? What are you doing?
Trying to put the screen back in.
Oh.
I can open the window.
Good luck.
We good?
Yeah. So I did tails in mine. I have to check. It's been probably close to a week since I did tails in them last, but I don't know. So.
Yeah, those guys can actually get a lot bigger than I think they do. Like in my mind, they're relatively like small, slender snakes, but I've seen pictures of people free handling them, which I know, but it gives you an idea of how big they are. And Cyanea is a pretty good sized colubrid, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the ones that you see on Instagram that are just absolute monsters are kind of the exception in general. Because I mean, my female, I paired her at a much smaller size than I realized other people were pairing theirs, and she seemed to handle it fine. And I mean, she's probably pushing 4 feet, but I mean, she's super thin.
Okay.
They're very slender snakes to begin with. You see like the cynodon, like the dogtooth cat snakes, like the one Phil has, where they'll be like 8 feet long, but they'll only be about that big around.
Yeah.
You know, they're super thin, they're super long, and they're built for the trees and stuff like that. I think there's actually one species of boiga that is like almost entirely terrestrial and isn't arboreal or semi-arboreal to some extent. Oh, there's
the night tiger that Eric Nolan.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
That's Australia's version of the brown tree snakes that are in Guam. Same species.
You're thinking those are boiga, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a regularis.
Are those people keep them in the United States? I know there's a handful of them.
Mm-mm. Not the Australian forms. I don't think anybody has those except for Australians.
Yeah.
Unless they haven't, they're not supposed to.
Well, that's far more likely.
That would
I'm
never,
sitting here.
Nobody gets Australian animals without like full support of the Australian government. It's impossible. You can't do it.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking that Australia, like the people of Australia, are like, yeah, man, we love our wildlife. We're not going to bring in anything weird. And then I see headlines of like, corn snake was found in Australia and crazy stuff like that. And I'm like, they're just like us.
Yeah, they are. I mean,
Yeah.
look how clean over there. They have everything. They've got all like the base PetSmart stuff that we have. Like I've seen pictures of leopard geckos in Australia that somebody posted online. I think we talked about this last
I
episode.
think we did.
Yeah, where I messaged this person like, take that down. That you're clearly breaking the law. Like people are gonna find you. Stop it.
Steve Irwin is turning in his grave right now.
You're making the Australian wildlife cry. All of them. The koalas up in the trees just tearing down. You know, the leopard gecko.
Yeah, Irregularis just recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, got banned in Florida, which I've talked about before. I think it's hilarious because no one has Irregularis. Like, nobody keeps them. Like, why are you banning something, they're not even supposed to be able to be imported anyways, because in my opinion, Irregularis are like the Fish and Wildlife Commission's boogeyman. Like, they're terrible.
Yeah, well, after Guam...
If it makes landfall, we're screwed. And it's like, they would do great in Florida, like everything else in the world.
Yeah.
But past that, they wouldn't do well. I don't think they'd fare well.
So yeah, just tell them you're in South Carolina, and then you can have them. Just like at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Yep, South Carolina. Who knows how long we'll be the last bastion of
freedom in the United States.
I think there's more stuff coming on the pipeline as far as the regulation here.
I was told, because I had a conversation with a guy that's like the liaison between the private sector and DNR, which is South Carolina's Department of Natural Resources. And I had a conversation with him on the phone, like I was talking to him, and I said, my concern is you guys are going to start screwing around. You're going to decide to start banning everything else. And he told me verbatim, he said, we have no interest in dealing with anything else exotic except tegus. And I was like, okay. Like, you can tell me that. That doesn't necessarily mean I believe you, but...
I just don't think that's how it's going to work.
Tegus are such a weird case, too, where they are a large omnivorous lizard that really can survive in a lot of the Southeast. Like, if we're being honest here, like, if an alligator can survive there, a tegu could probably survive there too.
No, I mean, I'm not denying the fact that tegus could legitimately do very well in a very much larger spectrum of ecosystems and habitats than berms would.
Yes.
That is what's scary about this, though, is berms, they were the boogeyman for so long, but berms really can't survive outside of, really the edge of big cypress.
Yeah.
Where tegus, like, the tegu boogeyman they're starting to make actually is probably a legitimate threat in a lot of the like coastal Southeast.
Yeah. Well, he told me they had over the last handful of years they've had a number of call-ins or sightings of tegus. He said, a good majority of those probably weren't, they're not unsubstantiated. They're not proven, And then he said there's a few of them that actually, like, they are legitimate. Like, they saw what they saw. But he said, this is just, he's like, people are freaking out. Of course, it's the media saying the sky's falling, hide your wives and children. The tegus are coming for them. And I don't know. It's just, I can understand, like, it is a problem. But at the same time, like, in Florida, just like iguanas, it's like once they're there, they're there. Like, you can only do so much to keep them pretty much plateaued to where they are. But even then, they're just so successful where they are that that's going to be a hard thing to do. And I'm all for opening season on invasive species like that, like berms. I have no problems with people hunting berms.
It's kind of strange to me that Florida requires a license to hunt berms. You can't. It is like if you
complaining about how bad they are, they're going to tell me I can only take 3. Like,
I mean, it makes sense because states always want to have their control over the process, but I'm just, to me, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it makes no sense.
But well, I mean, they did that with iguanas though too. Remember, they were like, "Oh yeah, if you see an iguana, kill it," and then everyone started like, literally maiming these things, like hitting them with shopping carts and just not making their deaths quick. And then Florida had to come back and say, "Wait a second, we didn't say pretend you're in Saw 3."
Yeah,
like let's take a step back and kill them humanely.
That's a key word, right? I mean.
Which, I mean, that's subjective, I guess. There's some sick
but
in the world, man.
From I guess a reasonable person's or hunter's, outlook, I think that can be well defined.
Bill said chicken in the trees. You can't tell me you couldn't come up with some solid barbecue or jerk iguana recipes.
I bet they taste really good. I kind of want to try one.
I would try one. Yeah. Who knows?
I had frog legs for the first time in Daytona.
You tried what?
I tried frog legs for the first time. It was actually at P and Cody's before Daytona, but that weekend I had never had them before. It's actually pretty good.
Shrimp crossed with chicken.
Kinda, yeah.
So have you actually been to South Florida to see like just how bad the iguanas are? Dude, it's actually pretty impressive when you go down to like the Miami area.
Mm-hmm.
You drive by, like, they got these little like ditched canal things all over the place, and you'll just be driving down the road, and all of a sudden it's just like covered in iguanas, right? Like really, really big red male iguanas just chilling out in like somebody's front yard over by the water.
I believe it. I've seen videos of them on like docks and stuff, and they're just covering everything. It's good God.
Yeah, there's a lot of them down there, and I've seen the spiny tail iguana too. I've seen the brown basilisk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any other reptiles I've seen because I've looked for berms, but I mean I've looked for berms like twice, so I haven't really looked for berms.
I mean, Phil's talked about it a bunch, and he says he really never sees any. I think Henry just said the same thing. He said, no one ever really finds them.
I don't know.
And I actually had someone in work the other day. We got on the topic of it, and they asked me, and what I thought about it. And I said, they make it sound like more than half the state of Florida is just overrun, and I was like, it's actually a very small section in the very bottom. It's really not that serious. So
a very inaccessible part of the state.
Yeah, the rugged interior.
But most parts of the Everglades are really, really remote areas that you can only get to basically by airboat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to go find a berm though. That's
me too.
It'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, it would be.
I mean,
No, keep going.
I was going to say, like I said, I have no issues with open season on invasive species. I mean, it sucks because the animals didn't have to be there. They didn't have a choice in the matter, but at the same time, they're not supposed to be there. Leather, like people were wanting sort of renewable sources for skins and leathers. So it was like, there you go. You got tegus, and there's a million of them, and they're, you got more than enough to choose from. So
Yeah.
Makes sense. I did see on one of those trips that I was looking around. I did see. I don't know if it was a monitor or a tegu. Judging by the way it was built in its neck, I think it may have been a nano monitor, but it was so fast I couldn't tell. But that was really cool to see.
I wouldn't. There's nothing that someone like if someone told me they saw a freaking alien in the glades, I'd be like, yeah, probably.
Right, man.
Makes sense.
Oh, Austin wants to jump in. Thomas, what are you smoking?
The Gurkha 15 year.
Oh yeah. Is it everything you dreamed it would be and more?
Yep, the best Gurkha they ever made,
dude.
that I've had.
100%.
And I kind of shit on Gurkha constantly because I kind of hate their brand, but
those are
this
good.
is the exception.
No one can deny that those are.
Yeah.
It's a damn good cigar. But Andy Middleton wanted me to talk about the mice cutting thing, so I figured I'd draw a picture of what I do. So when I cut mice, they're not alive. They are frozen thawed. They are dead. I am not cutting live mice with a razor blade because I'm not a sick bastard. So I'll draw. You have to forgive my artistic capabilities because they are very basic. Let me see if I can draw a little pinky, like a little loaf of bread.
Did I tell you what I tried to do the other day for my emerald that was regurging?
I think so.
I hand skinned a fuzzy, and it was in shed because I didn't check it before, but then I looked at it was in shed, so it wouldn't take it. So it's like, well, crap. That was the most disgusting thing I think I've done in a very long time. Total waste of time. Because it's emerald. Like, I know they say emerald regurging is bad, but this one, it only regurgitates the fur, which makes me want to try no fur. And I can't get a hold of any hairless mice because I've asked around and no one's breeding hairless mice right now. And if they do, it's going to be like a $10 mouse. So there's no point in me really trying. But
I'm glad that Phil asked Zach the other night on THP about the whole, because I've wondered the same thing too of like the regurg and emeralds. Is it crypto? Like, is there a possibility that they're just super hypersensitive to crypto that would be common in like corn snakes or any other snakes in the hobby? I didn't draw this picture big enough. Let's try this again. Mike up and said, Justin signed the drawing. It will be in the next auction. Think I won't. All right. So this is going to kind of look like a bug, but it's a mouse. So bear with me. This is the little ear section. This will be a little mouse. Draw an X. Little stubby leg. Stubby leg. Stubby leg.
He's drawing things right now. Guaranteed.
Little tail.
It's going to flash.
Okay. Here's my mouse. All right. Here. I'll make it even better.
We'll put it back up again. It's a taco.
Right. So this is my thawed mouse on my table.
Yes.
I take a razor and I make between 3 and 6. Depends on my level of frustration that given day. But typically, the more the better, ideally. So I make cuts along the back like this. They don't have to be super deep. The problem is with... That's an F, not a P. He's not playing hockey. So it's not puck. So the more cuts, the better, and sort of the paper that was on this is no longer around for some reason. I guess it could be an armadillo with a cat's head. That's fair, or a turtle with ears. Everyone use their imagination. there was a paper that was done. It was a very small sample size of corn snakes. The paper is no longer online. I can't find it anywhere. I really hope Joe Phelan still has it because I really want to share it around. So what they did was they took 2 groups of corn snakes. One group got just regular thawed mice, no cuts. Another group got they divided the second group up into some other groups, and so one group got like 2 cuts in the mice, one got 3, one got 4, and they found over the course of several weeks that the group that had the 4 cuts in the mice grew, I think it was like something crazy, like 3 times faster than the other groups. And that's basically the whole concept was the body is using, like the digestive system is using less resources on trying to get through the skin. It was basically, the paper was called How Big of a Hindrance is Skin? And it basically says they're getting to the things they need faster because the digestive system isn't working on getting through the skin to get to the stuff they actually need.
Okay.
And so if you think about it, it actually really makes sense. I've done it with some of my animals. I haven't noticed any major difference. I really want to do it with the next clutch of chondros. Same thing, separate 2 groups. One gets no cuts, one gets 3, 4. And I mean, it makes complete sense. I actually think it's really good to do with neonates. I think it's really good to do with females that are either going into a breeding season or coming out of laying a clutch, because you're letting them get to those things that you need. Stat. There's work.
Howdy, fellas.
What's going on?
What's going on, Austin?
How you doing, Casey?
Pretty good, man.
The Bredli guys. The Bredli,
It's
apparently.
actually
I
like the
can't
first
call
time
them.
we had like a sort of face-to-face conversation with Austin.
We've never had one.
No, we haven't.
I don't think.
We've talked on the
Yeah.
phone a couple times. You can chat online a lot, but no, it's good to see you, dude.
Good for you too, Aaron.
Yeah, so this, I mean, the nice thing about it is whether or not it works or actually really does have an effect, it takes like 10 seconds. Not even 10 seconds. It's literally like 1, 2, 3, feed it. 1, 2, 3, feed
Yeah.
it. It takes no extra time. With chondros, I will say, make your cuts shallow because they are going to squeeze the crap out of it. And I've had a handful of times where it was
Intestines just coming out.
very messy.
Yeah.
And the chondro just looked like it came out of a blood orgy. So,
I've had someone do that to a freezer burn mouse before.
but I guess we can. This can be an auction item if people so choose. I don't know if you can find a frame for it. I'm assuming this is going to be about a 4x6 or maybe a 5x7.
I had a Dumerals hit a extra large rat that I had left in the hot water a little too long, and that was a pretty bad mess. It was pretty nasty. It smelled pretty bad.
Yeah. Whenever I still feed my Barretts cut in half pinks, and they make a giant mess every single time I feed.
It's always surprising just how much like fecal matter is inside of a rat.
Oh yeah. Oh
I feel
yeah.
like a third of their body weight is shit.
Yep.
Jason Rapp said, pro tip, do not try to pre-cut and vacuum seal. It doesn't turn out well.
That's terrible.
Which, if you do your own mice and you do seal them, what I do to make my life easier is after I've euthanized them, I don't just throw them in a vacuum sealer and freeze them. I actually lay them out on a tray, freeze them, and then vacuum seal them. And that makes it easier. They're not all like one giant brick, jigsawed together in weird, you know what I mean? Like you get those ones and you pull it out, and it's like this weird angle, and you freeze them first, then you vacuum seal them. So
I thought about also like that problem as far as like the tails. When even if you stack them nicely, sometimes the tails get all wound up around the other ones. Just snipping them off, just saying screw it. How much extra nutrition is in a tail? Whenever you're talking about a rat that's like a medium and larger,
Oh yeah, and I mean when you have stuff like baby boiga, like we were talking about, at the beginning of the show, tails come.
Yeah,
in handy,
I just tuned in. I was cleaning snakes. Sorry. Baby
chondros, tails come in handy. Like, they're nice to have on hand if you need them. It's
yeah.
And I like it because nothing's going to waste.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of not letting anything go to waste.
And Lisa has a good point about the slits too. She said it makes makes sense because you're just accentuating what the snake is already doing with their teeth. Which, yeah. I mean, I would agree with that.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's if you get a clutch, and that's anybody breeding, if you get a clutch and you have a couple animals that are like the runty ones, I really think this kind of thing, if you can get them started, something like that will really make a huge difference. And I mean, it makes total sense. Like I said, the sample size was very small. It wasn't a very large experiment, but the numbers that she had were irrefutable. I mean, like it was one of those things where like you saw the charts and you saw the numbers and you're like, whether this is as extreme in other species as it is in these corn snakes that she did it with, it's still the results were ridiculous.
It'll be interesting to see with this community if you can get a kind of a pseudo study that tracks a snake through its entire life cycle through breeding, cut versus not cut. Do you get more size? Do you get more weight? The answer, I mean, I think that would be really valuable.
Let me see. Maybe it's back up. I don't. I'm gonna see if I
really
can
do
find
kind of
it.
wish that snake breeders did kind of have like little projects like that they would work on. Like,
see, it
you
says
could
the file's
actually
been
see
deleted.
different prey items and see like what actually makes stuff grow better. Like,
Yeah.
the supplements work because you have the numbers to do it.
Yes.
As a community, we do.
Yeah.
I'm listening to that Pangea thing you were talking about where they put on the end of the mouse tail. What if we did that on just mice in general? What if we tried that for a year? You know, would it work? Would it
Just
help?
like whole
Would it do nothing?
prey items.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
get a little bit sprinkle on top of
Mm-hmm.
like a fuzzy that you just thawed out. I don't know.
Just
I'm
see,
sure you
like
can do
from
it.
like straight out of the egg, first meal, then just do it for a year and see.
Yeah.
You have your control. Do it the normal way. Do one you cut open the belly. Do one like that with Pangea, and just kind of see. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would depend on what Pangea you use, because if you get like the red label stuff, that's got black soldier fly larvae in it, which are very high in fat, very high in protein, and so I would worry long term about it making the snake become too fat. Which, after seeing, I don't know if y'all saw that post from Matt Somerville in one of his Australian Lapids. I forget which species it was. I think it was an Ingram's. It was a snake that I believe hadn't eaten for like 9 months, and it died randomly. He thinks it was some sort of heart issue, and he opened that thing up just to look around. I guess he does his own necropsies, and like that thing had a ton of fat in it, but that was not, from looking at it from the outside, like that was not an obese snake by any means. But the fat reserves in it were ridiculous. Like the entire body, there's just a ton of it. And they've done that in chondros too. Chondros that haven't eaten in a year. You know, they've cut them open because they died for whatever reason. It wasn't food related, but still, fat reserves just endless. Like I still think, even when I think that I'm not feeding my snakes enough, I look at stuff like that and I'm like, no, I actually need to feed them even less than what I'm feeding them now.
So this is kind of like not snakes, but in the same kind of vein. When we cull our chickens, a lot of times, if it's a younger chicken, we'll eat it, smoke it, whatever, and or it'll get fed to the snakes. Just depends on how old it is. If it's real old, it's tough, and we don't eat it because I don't know if you guys have ever tried to eat a chicken that's like 6-7 years old. It's tough. But even like in the young ones, and we feed once a day. I don't even know. It's not much food. It's probably like. So we've got like 14 chickens. So it's probably in the realm of like a half a liter of chicken feed I throw out every morning, which isn't a lot. A lot of people have them just free grazing constantly all day long in like a full food deal, right? And when you cut them open to clean them, they have all of this crazy fat on the inside of their chest cavity. And it just kind of blows my mind because I feel like we feed them very sparingly. And if you look at their inside of them, they're full of fat, completely full of fat. So it's just interesting. And I think that snakes, I mean, you can kind of draw those lines a little bit. I had a Woma python pass away earlier this year due to a heart deal. We'll open her tub. She was biting her heart, complete bad deal. And we did a necropsy on her. She was a really problem feeder. I think at that point she hadn't eaten for close to 9 months as well, and just full of fat. completely full of fat. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Like, I think we very easily sort of underestimate just how efficient their metabolism is. You know, like chondros, especially. I've
Yep.
got some young chondros that are like yearlings that I need to put on a diet because they're already getting kind of chunky, and it's like it sucks because at the same time it's like I know you're growing and I know like you're going to be using this, but you also don't need it. You know, you need to burn
Yeah.
off what you have, and this is that post from Matt, and I mean you can see that like that is. We would not really classify that as an obese snake.
No.
It's a 9-year-old female Ingram's brown snake. Ate her first meal since mid-January. So, I mean, you're looking at a snake, like I said, that hasn't eaten in a very long time, but clearly it doesn't need. And, I mean, if you think about it, too, I mean, that's... brown snakes, that's a very active snake, too. That's not a snake that's sedentary like your gaboons or your bloods or, you know, anything like that. So, I don't know. Maybe we're just not giving them enough credit, and we're not realizing just how little they really do need.
Yeah, it's kind of funny we're talking about this. I just got done cleaning out 23 of my Neos, my Brettles Neos from two different clutches back in 2019. I've got quite a few left, and I'm just kind of watching them color up because there's one pairing that I'm just kind of watching. I want to see. I think I've got my holdbacks picked out by now, but they're small, man. I keep them super small, and I was sitting in there thinking while I was going through all of it, am I not feeding them enough? Because I mean, it's like every 14 days, and they get a small meal, and I just let them roll. You know, I'm not trying to pound them with anything, but they're probably pushing like 18 inches, but they're still probably about as big around as the black part of this lighter right here. So,
and it's tough because I mean, even when I was dealing with cresteds, I had some like they gained weight, and getting it just like snakes, getting them to lose weight pretty much required starving them. I mean, it's a very easy line to cross because they're so. It's damn near impossible to get snakes to lose weight without flat out cutting them off food for an indefinite period of time. You know, and with the geckos, it was even harder, and that's something that, you know, when you have females that are producing and stuff like that, you don't just want to cut them off food entirely, and because that'll have egg problems and whatnot. But it's just, you know, I see stuff like what Matt posted, and it makes me think like, yeah, we've talked about how obesity in animals is a really big problem in the hobby, but, you know, we need to cut it back to what we thought originally, but then do even more, you know.
I mean, do you think that like enrichment's like the solution to that? I don't want to know. Just...
My thing is like we don't know how many calories they're burning. We don't know how often and how long do they need to be running around and doing.
Especially with the more hardy species. I mean,
especially like
Brettles, python, chondros, Brettles. I mean, a Brettles is going to be moving around more than a chondro, but the biology behind it.
Night long.
Mine does too.
Yeah, I've got like 4 stacks of adults, and I just click on my cameras at nighttime when I get bored, so I don't like disturb the room, and they're just moving all night long.
Scott said this species is in a boom and bust. He's talking about those Ingrams. They're in a boom or bust place. He said there could be no rain for 9 months, and therefore essentially very little food. So that's the case with a lot of species. And there was actually a Herp Nation Radio episode, which Nick Mutton used to host, and he had Vin Rousseau on. He was talking about boas, and he talked about how in the wild, you know, most boas probably are only eating like 6 months out of the year, if that. You know, they're getting way less meals than what we give them in captivity. I mean, we're like my adult male Brettles and my adult green trees, like I feed them maybe once a month. They're just
my big females get a like decent sized meal once every month and some change, probably more. It's over a month. I mean,
So-
if they're laying, I'll obviously feed them a little bit more to bounce them back, but I don't breed them every year. I haven't bred any bred lives since 2019. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's also part of the whole cutting the mice thing. I think if you're doing that with females that just laid a clutch, you don't have. In theory, I guess this is something I'd have to play around with. Like if you're cutting those mice and they're getting to the the calcium in the bones and the nutrients from all the organs and whatnot, if they're getting to that stuff more efficiently, then I think in theory you wouldn't have to feed them as much coming out of laying a clutch.
That makes sense.
Just making them use that food, their body's getting more of that out of that meal rather than making up for that in the number of meals they're having.
I also wonder if the efficiency rate for absorption of nutrients is the same with mice and rats, or is it a constant?
I think I'm sure that depends on what they're being fed. Are
That's
they being
true.
fed a block diet? Are they being fed?
Yeah,
kind of like what I do with mine. Like I give mine a lot of hay. I give mine there's this awesome birdseed mix I found at Tractor Supply Company that has.
Yeah, buddy.
Dude, Tractor Supply's become my freaking place.
Yeah,
dude.
Tractor Supply is it's my home away from home as far as reptiles are concerned.
They
I
got
love
so
Tractor
much cool
Supply,
stuff
man.
in there. Like I don't even need horse troughs, but I was like, hey, they got one.
Next, try they sell cross-cut oats at Tractor Supply, for horses. Cut that into some of that bird seed. I've had a lot of success with my SF colony with doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know they're mainly grain feeders, so I know you're breeding mice. It's a little bit different, but the amount of reproduction that I've gotten since I started doing that is insane, dude.
Yeah, there's. I have to send you the picture of the stuff I get, but it's got sunflower seeds. It's got It's got peanuts.
I'll show you what I got real
almonds. It's this massive mix of just a bunch of different nuts and dried cherries and stuff like that.
Oh,
and,
damn!
They go crazy over it.
Yeah, send me a picture of that because I don't know that I've seen that.
Yeah, it's like a 2-pound bag, I think, and it's maybe $11. But
so I just mix cross-cut oats into that kind of stuff. It's just like wild bird seed.
Yeah. But I'll also take some of that. They have that feeder brick, but it's mealworms and sunflower seeds, shelled sunflower seeds. And I'll break that up, and man, they go crazy on that too. They love dried mealworms.
Highfalutin, you get the shelled sunflower seeds. You got them high-end.
It just comes in a brick or a circle that you just put on a feeder, and I just break it up and just give each slot, a chunk of it, and it's gone within 24 hours easily.
Yeah, they go through that kind of shit pretty quick. I've also done the dried mealworms for the ASFs. They love those. Mm-hmm. Those little dehydrated mealworms. But this has been a love-hate project, the ASF colony. I've had it for, I want to say since 14, I think. And it's I've noticed that they're completely seasonal. They don't breed in the summertime at all. I mean, you may be lucky to get a litter. But I'm also in a garage that I just am running a fan. So there's no, it gets hot in here. It's not crazy, but it's 90 degrees, But then in the fall, they start reproducing like mad. It kind of tapers off a little bit when it gets real cold. And then springtime, it's nuts. So I've just got to hit it and feed them when the getting's good and then freeze all the stuff so that I've got food for that off season,
Right. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now with pretty much half my collection cooling because it's corn snakes and bears and stuff. Just trying to.
A lot of my collection's cooling right now too.
Yeah, and just fill up the freezer. And I mean, I do think that plays a pretty good factor in it because I mean, just like anything else, you are what you eat, and if you're eating crap food, then you're probably gonna have crap health. And I don't know. That's why I like spoiling my mice, man. I like knowing what's going into them. I like knowing what's being fed. That's my biggest issue with a lot of the frozen suppliers is you don't know exactly what they're being fed. You don't know how they're being kept, how often they're being cleaned. When you have control of all of that, I sleep a little easier at night, I guess. But
yeah, and it makes you not feel as bad whenever you have to supplement that kind of stuff that you don't really know where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. You at least know that they're getting really good stuff most of the time because I don't feed ASFs primarily. It's just something that I mix in with all the other shit that I feed. So it just, I don't know. At least I have control of some of it, because it's hard to have control of it all, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Andy also said, I wonder if cutting for mature females, like cutting mice for mature females, would help with tail hang, holding on to defecations, with talking about chondros. And I think it definitely would have some sort of effect on it, just because they're getting to the stuff inside faster, that sort of bag of skin, I guess, that you sort of get on that, the opposite end doesn't sort of bind them up as much. But I mean, who knows? Everything I'm talking about is completely anecdotal, but like I said, it takes 2 seconds to do when you're feeding. So,
Casey, what do you got as far as pairings this year? Are you doing anything?
Okay, so I'm getting a little scared right now. I'm afraid that my brittle stuff, I'm not cooling them down enough, like as much this year. Like normally I can go out every night and do it, but this time, since I'm in the process of moving, I can only do it a few times a week. And this week, I've been sick, so I just have not felt like pull my animals out and then put them down cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've just not been feeling it. Then it's raining and we're in different rooms, so.
Are you in a situation where you're moving them out every night and moving them back in during the day and stuff?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I've always done.
Okay.
So I'm trying. I've got a pair of hypo hip stonewash I'm trying out. I'm really excited about that. I could finally make some full-blooded hypo stonewash.
That's badass.
Yeah. And I'm trying, I think I might do a LASIK to a forest pairing. So that'll be really cool because the female LASIK is like a really, really pretty, like deeper red. And that male Alfor's is like a lighter orange. So I'm hoping some cool stuff will come out of that.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good.
That female that I got from Jeff Back a while, I'm sure you're familiar. You've seen pictures of it. It's like 50-50. Her black goes like 50% of her body. It doesn't go all the way down that last third. I paired her in 2019 and got a small clutch out of her, and those are the two holdbacks I was talking about earlier. Is in a forest. I don't know that she's LASIK. She's probably LASIK, but. Man, those animals, the two that I'm holding back, I'm excited about. I was like, they look better than the Forrest to Harris stuff that I produced, in my opinion, those two.
Really?
But the rest of the clutch isn't that great. But you get it's so weird when you get clutches and you got all this I don't want to call it junk. It's not junk, but it's byproduct. Like it's not what you're looking for, right? And then you get like one, and if you're lucky, maybe two, that you're like, ooh, I might be able to do something with that, But I really like that pairing. I thought it turned out really great.
Those two females I got from you years ago, they're not ready to go because I haven't really been pushing them hard with food. But I think they'll be ready in the 2022 season.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do with them is I'm going to try to make a clutch of brittles where they're basically every bloodline mixed together into one clutch.
That's what I'm talking about. You're talking my language right now.
So I'm calling it the super outcross pet stonewash pairing, where they're going to have 25% hypo, 25% LASIK, 25% Alfor, 25% Harris. And they're going to be actually the first time anyone's ever done a brittles clutch in the U.S. with foreign related grandparents. So I'm really excited to try that out. And I'm
call it the Canon blender line.
The Canon blender line. I'm actually cooling down the clutch mates of those this year. From 2016, the female squidge, and then her male counterpart. I mean, she's definitely breeder size, but she's going to be laying a smaller clutch, But I'm fine with that. I'm honestly, after having my Harris girl and she's laying almost 30 eggs a clutch, I'm like, oh, I don't want snakes that big, man. I don't want to deal with 30 babies. It's just I like to hold on to stuff too much. And holding on to stuff, and you got to feed it, and then you're cleaning 30 babies. It's just a lot, man. It's a lot.
I think they may have been able to go. Those two girls, they're big enough where they can handle large rats. But I haven't been feeding them large rats that long. It may have eaten one or two before it was time to not eat for a while. So
I've gotten my girl on large rats January, I think, of this year, and then she started putting on some decent size. And I was like, okay, I'm going to cycle you and see if you'll go this year. I'm not pushing it. If there's no interest, I'll just pull them apart. It's not a big deal. Like I said, I'm not in any rush, but I'm really excited because this will be the first time that I've paired snakes that I produced, which I'm pretty pumped about. So.
Yeah, I think
so
I'm
much better than just buying adults.
Oh yeah,
like so much more. Sort of, there's just a feeling of
I
accomplishment.
don't think I've ever done that.
When you've gone through the years of like getting them ready and getting them there, and you finally get something from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm also really excited to see what kind of stuff they produce. The male's pretty good looking. The female is badass. She's probably the best looking bredli that I have for sure.
And the two I got from you, one of them is like just looks like an Afors. Like she is beautiful. The other one's like a little bit darker, and she's still pretty good. Like,
yeah.
But that like this one, like, oh my god, man, I'm so happy with that snake, and I'm so excited to see what she does.
You need to send me next time you get a chance. I'd like to see some pictures of her now that she's a little older. I'd like to look at her compared to my female that I'm holding back, or that I've got that's breeding this season, or hopefully.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a new experiment this year. I don't know if I mentioned it on the last podcast, where I am keeping a handful of subadult bredls.
They're talking shit about your coat and the globe in the background.
I mean, they're not far off. It's a cabin in the woods in North Georgia, so
it is a cabin.
It's pretty cold outside too. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, I'm keeping some bredls at like 68, like for weeks now, and they don't seem to like be badly affected by it.
They don't care.
It's dropping down in my cold where I've got mine because I don't bring mine in and out. Yeah. Mine are just out, and they get about 6 hours of like 95 degrees on the basking spot, and if they want it, they can do it. If not, too bad, so sad, you know. But it's not gotten any warmer during the night in here than about 55 degrees, and it's dropped down to like 48 a couple times. So.
Oh yeah.
What are you smoking, Austin?
The Roma Crap and Temperance.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I like it a lot. It's nice.
That Indo binder, man, it's something special.
It's definitely delicious. You're a bad influence. My wife's like, didn't you just buy cigars? I was like, well, yeah, but it's December. This is the December sampler. I bought the November sampler.
Yeah, I'm sending the first handful out tomorrow. I'm gonna try and get to the post office like first thing because I got there to get the flat rate boxes and stuff. I got there today at like just before 5, and there was like a line out the door practically. So it's like Jesus Christ, I'm gonna have to get there early. But there are still some available. I know Bill was curious. I had much more to work with this time, so it wasn't as limited as the first run. So
Bill Bradley or Bill Stiegel or who? Or
no, Bill Bradley. Yeah. Can you explain? I know you've done this for me like 30 times, Casey. But for the people that don't know, can you explain the differences in the Brettles lines again?
So really, it just depends on what the founder animals were. So the Lasik animals, they were founded by a small group of Brettles that Casey Lasik brought in the mid-90s. I think he bred them the first time in 98. So most Brettles in the U.S. are from that line. That's where you get the stripes. It's one of the lines you have the stonewatch in. A lot of times they seem to be a little bit darker, but not always. Actually, one of my prettiest Brettles is a Lasik line Brettles. Then you have.
They can have a pretty high contrast.
Yeah, they do seem to have a lot of high contrast.
I'm going to try and see if I can pull up pictures to give people an idea.
The hairs are a lot like the Lasik, in my opinion. I actually don't have a full-blooded Lasik. I don't have a full-blooded Harris. I only have the half ones that I got from Austin. But
my Harris one is a freaking nightmare, dude. She's the meanest snake I have in my room. Dude, I'm not even playing. Meanest snake I have in my room. And I have Amazons.
Dude,
yeah, that's saying a lot.
That's a big girl.
So we're on Casey's page.
Yes, that's an Alforce. That is my breeder male Alforce.
It looks a lot like my breeder male Alforce. They have a look that's just, I mean, you can pick an Alforce out of a lineup for sure.
And those are the ones that typically have like less black, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit less black, a little more high orange. I've noticed they have a shorter face. Have you seen that, Austin?
Yeah, they have a little bit more of a stumpier snout. I mean, Brettles do in general, but the Alforce definitely have a shorter head for sure.
And FYI, y'all, like I haven't updated this page in years, just because I found out like Facebook algorithms like don't care.
I think
for the
that
page
last
now.
picture was one of the Alforce Harris ones, wasn't it?
I think it was. I think I took a picture of.
Back one more. Is that it?
Yeah,
no,
my
that's
favorite
not.
snake.
That's not it. No.
Yeah, that
That's a
is
hypo.
that's a Alforce to. Yeah, that's one I got from Austin, I think.
Yeah, that's it. That's what my, yep. That's a good looking animal, man.
Yes, it
If
is.
I do say so myself.
I mean, come on now. A little bit of. That's
Yeah,
a beautiful
that's
animal too.
my LASIK to hypo het stonewashes. I think that's what that one is.
That's
This one
beautiful.
says Hypo X A-Force.
Oh, okay. No, that's yeah, that's one I got from Ralph Walensky. Then I didn't produce that one. I lied. That's a pure LASIK. That's a double het stonewash stripe. And she's
Wow.
actually going to go for the first time.
I'm not good enough to be able to spot them. Like, maybe I just have to look at more of them. But
You just got it.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you just showed me a bunch of random Brittles, I don't know if I could do it. Like, I don't know if I could tell you which U.S. line they came from. Because honestly, like, there's a lot of similarities between all of them.
There
Like,
are. I would say like
think
Alforce has more. That's not U.S., but Alforce has more of the orange, and like LASIK and Harris is more of like that brick red color.
mm-hmm.
But then again, like that last one you showed, that was a LASIK line, and it was orange as hell. So it's kind of.
Yeah.
What happened to this dude, man? Where's this guy been?
that guy died. And he was super old, and I never got to breed him, and I am
That's
very
so
upset
freaking cool.
that nothing ever came out of that. That's like one of my regrets is a snake keeper. Yeah, that girl. I think that's a double het girl. I think she's up this year to breed.
So how many pairings did you say you have?
Three
Three.
Brittle pairings.
I'm
And
only
then-
doing one Brettles pairing, and then I'm gonna swing for the Brisbanes again, and then which I don't have any kind of thinking that that's gonna happen because I've struck out so many times, and then I'm gonna pair up the mild line inlands this year too.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
They're
Do
in
it.
cool down right now. I'm cycling the Brisbanes and that one pair of Brettle, and then that 2016 pair, and then the inlands in my those three. That's the only three pairings I have for this year.
Trying bamboo rat snakes too. So this will be my first year trying.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, my first year trying polybrids. So I've got a lock with my Tanzania pair. But
Oh, nice.
I don't think they're going to go. I think they might need a little more time to adjust.
You have greens or mandarins?
I have mandarins.
Okay.
And then I've got 4 blue tongue skink pairings I'm trying this year. So
I've been seeing you've been getting in that blue tongue skink pool pretty hard.
yeah, I did. Like honestly,
He says it with that face.
What'd you say?
Did you say it with that grin on your face? Like it's painful, but you like it.
Please, sir, may I have another?
See, to me, this right here is this is how I like my Bruttles to look, like that sort of satiny red, and then it just fades to black.
Yes.
That one got leukemia and died. That was my first Brettles python. You're just showing me. You're just going through my old pages, and just,
I didn't want to say anything, but I knew that animal was dead. I didn't want to burst anybody's bubble.
Spoiler alert.
That animal was dead.
She got leukemia and died.
And he's got random pictures of me from 2015. That's Phil.
Y'all were talking about iguanas down in South Florida. I went down to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law live in Jupiter. Dude, the amount of iguanas I saw in all the canals while we were peacock bass fishing. Peacock. He's down there peacock bass fishing. And dude, there was a big old male sitting just like sunning. It was impressive. It was pretty cool.
Freaking dinosaur.
For a second, it freaked me out. I thought it was like a rock iguana or something, and we just got closer. No, it was just a real big ass, like full green iguana.
Yeah, that's the only way to describe it too. They get red too. Like
this dude was like black.
Yeah,
he was just black and yoked, just like nothing could fuck with him. There's nothing.
Dude, like, that's something like I don't think you realize, like, unless you go to South Florida, just how many iguanas are in South Florida.
Well, it's a lot, man.
If you look at a range map, like, as soon as it stops being like human, like disturbed habitat, iguanas stop. Like, iguanas only live because we give them a habitat to live in. Like, there's no iguanas in the middle of the Everglades that I've seen.
I haven't been down to the Everglades yet. This was all in like there's houses and stuff everywhere. We're just in the canals fishing in a bass boat. They're everywhere.
I remember going down to Boca and seeing them. This was
Same
like
place.
6 or 7 years ago.
Boca and Jupiter and all that.
Yeah.
It's all the same area.
Yeah.
Damn,
I'm gonna have to plug my phone in because I'm at 12%. So give me a second.
I need to do the same thing. So hold on a second.
Yeah, my charger is right over here, so it's not like I got like big phone.
I'm looking at things on Fauna that I can't afford.
Yeah, I do that too often.
Is that trio of Angolan pythons still up?
Huh?
There's an adult trio of Angolan pythons up. Like last time. I haven't looked at fauna in forever, but
That's something I've been kicking around. I've wanted Angolans for a while. I just never
Yeah.
can pull the trigger.
I've thought about it too.
I feel like they're very 90s snakes, you know? I feel like all like the 90s herpers were like, that's what they wanted was Angolan pythons and Bredl's pythons and Womas and like all the stuff I want. You want Dumerals boas?
I love Dumerals bows.
I had one and it unfortunately got something and died. I'm kind of want to get back into them though.
I'm going to be pairing mine for the first time next year. My male just didn't put the size on I thought he was going to this year. I thought I was going to be able to. I've got a pretty damn good looking female that I've had for 2012, so 8 years, and I've just never. I didn't get the male till 2018, and they just grow so damn slow.
How big is your female?
She's like 5.5 feet probably,
Okay.
and she is like 20 pounds probably. I've never put her on a scale. We pick her. She's a big girl, and I don't feed her that often at all. Like once every 2 months. Their metabolism is so slow, man.
Yeah.
I actually was feeding her too much, and I was feeding her like a python, and I didn't. She was like the only boa in my collection. And I didn't know what the fuck. I really didn't know, you know. And I started I got her too big, and she started getting those lateral folds. And I think there was about a 4 or 5 month period I didn't feed her at all, at nothing. And she kind of started slimming down. But yeah, I definitely the first part of her life I was definitely overfeeding her. So.
Like I said, man, it's so easy to cross that threshold and get into the point.
Yes.
It's just recognizing it, I guess. Like if you can, I think I've been doing it long enough now. I can kind of, we need to back it off a little bit, you know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think about, you know, when I first bred the chondros and stuff. You know, I got that first clutch of eggs and I saw the female and I kind of freaked out because I was originally going to do maternal, and you know, then I saw the eggs and I saw her. I was like, Jesus, like no way. But now, like
I love maternal, dude.
She started moving around. I was like, she looks fine. So she is thinner. I think this time going, I'm hoping she lays on the 17th. That'll be day 50 after her ovulation. I never got a pre-lay shed, but like I have a feeling that even at her thinner size that she's at now, she'll still handle maternal fine, and she still will have plenty of resources to be able to handle that kind of thing. You know, I feel like people overcompensate because they're like, oh, they're going into egg season and they're going to need all this fat and all this other things. It's like, I don't know that they do need all the extra calcium, sure, but like all the other stuff, it's like, I don't know.
My big Harris line girl can go in, lay eggs, maternal incubate, and come off of them and look like nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's why
she'll have that she'll have that pinch a little bit, like down towards their tail, like where it kind of tapers, and you get that like rough, like it's like a folded flappy skin, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But once she gets off the eggs, about a week or so, you give her a meal, that's gone. I mean, it's nothing crazy, man. I think they're tougher than we give them credit for sure.
Yeah, we forget
For sure.
We've been doing this for much longer than we've kept them.
Yes.
I've done maternal 2 times. Yeah, I've done maternal twice, and both times I didn't lose a single baby in maternal. No, that's a lie. Last time I did, I lost one. I did lose one. That's a lie. Full term in the egg. I think that it pipped and then went back in and drowned. But when you're having clutches of like 25 to 27, you're like, that's okay.
Like Phil says, there's a reason Mom has like 1 billion eggs.
Yeah.
But I'm doing maternal.
I'm really excited. I really hope that I can get these inlands to go. That would make my year, dude. Oh my god.
Hell yeah, dude. What were you saying, Casey?
I said at least his wrap the eggs though. Mine just scatter them all over the cage.
Casey's are defective.
Really?
They just.
Yeah, dude.
You haven't had one that wraps the eggs yet?
My hypo girl will do it, but none of the other ones I've had lay clutches have ever done anything other than just scatter them around. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Because I really want to try maternal. It's just they don't want to do maternal.
They won't let him.
They won't let me.
You know what would be so cool, like with maternal, if you got some like anthills? How cool would it be to see like a tiny little micropython wrapped around a tiny little clutch of eggs?
So I just blanked out and I didn't hear anything y'all just said. What were you saying, Kate? You haven't had anything that's wrapped?
My hypo girl will wrap, but none of my other females will wrap. They just kind of scatter them all over the cage.
Damn. I haven't had that issue. I pulled on that LASIK girl last year, but I wish I wouldn't have because she had them wrapped up, but she'd never been bred before, and I don't know. It goes to that you're not trusting them enough. And I did throw those in the incubator. I wish I would have just nutted up and maternal them, but
I mean, I'll do it one day.
You should definitely do it.
I'm not turning back this time.
Well, that's what I said this year, and then he scattered them all over the place and held on to one egg for one day, just long enough for that egg to become a raisin, and it died. So
if they're scattering them, that's not meant to be anyway. Like, you just need to put those in the incubator. But if they beehive them, I'd give it a shot, dude. It's cool.
I put a lay box in with my female, and she's been in and out of that every night. She's been definitely curling up in there, and I think getting ready. So it's just do you guys ever not have a prelay shed from your Brettles though?
I always have a prelay. Both of mine are like clockwork, man. They both lay, like the 2 that I've had success with in the last 4 years, lay like clockwork within days of the last year. But I also cycle on the day and all that crap. I put them in cool down at the same time, so that's probably got something to do with it. I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have a prelay. I think I'd be pulling my beard out or something. That'd freak me out, not knowing.
She had an ovulation, and I was like, okay, cool. So like by the end of November, I should, late November, early December, I should have a prelay shed. And then the end of November and the beginning of December rolled around, and I got nothing. So I was like, what the hell? I was talking to David Bronze about it, and he said, I guess he had a conversation with John Irby about it, and Irby doesn't seem to go by the whole prelay shed thing. He's like 50 days after they've ovulated, I'm expecting eggs. So
yeah, but if you miss that ovulation, then ovulation, you're fucked though.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've never had one not do a prelay. Maybe it's more of a chondro thing.
I mean, I've heard of it happening with chondros where they were like, surprise, motherfucker. But I don't know. I haven't experienced that myself, so I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't mind that too. Like within plus or minus like 6 days.
Yeah.
When they ovulate, pre-lay, eggs, all that stuff. Like it's all like you could set your watch to it.
I've got a bunch of Morelia Python radio calendars that I can show you like all the days because I just write it down.
Mhm.
And I've went back just to check it, and it's all within like 2-3 days of the previous season. It's pretty cool, actually. Makes me feel like I'm doing something right.
Yeah. I just wish they would go at the same time for individual girls because I had my Stonewasher girl that had the spinal tumor. Seems to be kind of a problem with me where my really pretty, awesome females get cancer when they get older. I don't really know why that is. But
water.
That was what was going through my head. I was wondering if it's water.
Well, that and like I bought both of them as adults.
Okay, well,
So,
there's that too.
it's hard to say if it was me or if it was just, who knows. But yeah, she would lay super early for her Brettles. Like I'd be getting a Brettles clutch at the same time. Like some people would be getting like IJ clutches. I'd get like
Holy
eggs
shit!
yeah, like. So I'd be having baby packs out in like May when most of you guys were getting eggs to begin with. So I'd be getting Brettles like way early from her. But then all my other ones follow like closer to like when they're supposed to be, like, you know, getting eggs in July, babies in August, stuff like that.
I'm usually eggs in the middle to late of July and babies in September, hatching in September. That's typically my season.
Yeah. So I don't know. For some reason, she just cycled super early. Because all my other ones follow, you know, getting babies in September is a general rule.
And that may, what you said about buying adults, I've never purchased an adult. Every Bredla I have, well, it's not true. I didn't purchase her, but she was given to me. But it was by someone local. So she was probably already synced into our weather pattern or whatever. That lazy line female, but that is the only adult Bredls that is in my collection that I didn't raise from a neonate. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to keep mine, but I also don't.
I think
I'm going to beat you. Go ahead, Casey.
No, I just said I think Justin should keep them. That's
I've already told him that.
Yeah.
I love them. Like, I love that pair. They are awesome snakes. But they also take up a lot of space.
They do take up a decent chunk of space. At the very least, I keep mine in my adult females in a 2 by 4 or whatever. 4 long, 2 tall, 2 deep.
I want to try outdoors so bad.
I was talking to my wife about that. I was like, even if it's just like swapping snakes out and putting one out there and then taking it out and putting the next one out, like not to keep it out there all the time, but just so they get a little bit of that natural UV and stuff. But I'm also super, if something got out, dude, I would fucking,
I'd be most worried about raccoons more than anything else. Like, you'd have to,
we got a lot of possums and shit around here.
Double up the fence so that, you know, like a fence, and then inside that fence is the actual enclosure with fence.
Yeah. Use like hardcore welded machinist mesh or something like that.
The plan that I had going out was that basically there'd be 2 rows of cages, you know, going like down a row, and then I would close the area between them, so there'd basically be like a hallway. So you got to walk in through a door to even be able to access the other cages, just in case something did try to get out.
Like state laws in Florida where you have to have the 2 doors in order to do that. I mean, it's smart. That's the way, I think, honestly, that's the way you should do it if you're going to do it. I'm just starting to run out of freaking yard space with the chickens and all my gardening and all that shit that I do that, I don't know. I could probably work something out for 1 cage where I swapped them out like weekly or something like that. But then I'm worried, like, what if it gets mites and then I bring the mites into my snake room and then I have, you know, like, there's just a lot. I would love to do it. And maybe it is one of those things where you just do it for 1 snake and see how it works, you know, and don't do that bringing it in and swapping it out thing. I don't know.
I mean, I'm no expert at all, but I would only be concerned about the humidity in the southeast, keeping them outside, because I really want to keep mine outside when I get the ability to. I just 100% humidity all the time in the summertime might be a little bit too much.
I
But
don't think it'll bother him, dude. My snake
you
room.
don't think so?
No, my snake room in the summertime gets like 80% humidity. Like, dude, Brettles are tough, dude.
They don't care. It's
Yeah.
Brettles.
They don't give
Yeah.
a shit.
That's true. That's true.
My female hasn't had heat in like 2 years. She doesn't care.
So my ones that I'm not breeding this season, I'm not pulling them out of the room for cool down, but I did cut the heat off of the room, and they're getting food cycle just like everything else. Just so whenever I want to put them in cool down next year or the year after, it's not so much of a shock for them because the room naturally gets colder, you know?
Yeah, it's gonna do that no matter what.
But I like to anything I'm breeding, I like to submit to some pretty low temperatures.
Yeah, me too. I've definitely
When I
had
tell-
some this year.
When I tell people about like, they're like, it gets 48, 46. I'm like, yep. And they're okay. Yep. They're just fine. You got to give them basking during the day, but and a lot of times they don't even use it. They don't even get underneath the heat lamp. They're just like, I'm good. I don't need it. It's 68 in here. That's plenty warm.
It is funny though whenever you talk to guys that are keeping normal pythons. You know, oh, I dropped it down to 73. I'm like, I don't know if my room ever gets to 73. Other than
Wintertime,
like,
I would say like at nighttime, it probably dips down into like the low 70s. But I haven't had any issues with that with like the Papuans, the Amazons, or anything. Now they've got heat in their cages, so if it dips too low, the heat panel is going to kick on and make sure that it's going to kind of stay somewhat warm. You know, if I have a malfunction on my split HVAC system or something like that. But other than that, I mean, they just ride the temperatures. I fight humidity more than I do. Like, I worry way more about humidity than I do about like temperatures in my room. That heater, that split HVAC system dries the air out so bad, dude. Like, it'll take you can have almost 100% humidity. You kick that heater on and you're down to 40 in an hour and a half if you're not running the humidifier.
Fortunately, it's not a problem we have here in
No.
South Carolina.
In the summer, I don't have that issue, but in the wintertime, it's bad.
You know what I also have, though, that I think contributes a lot to my room itself is I have like a tadpole tub that is – it's a tub without a lid, and so it's got pothos growing in it and like a bubbler. And I know David Brahms has something similar in his room that keeps ambient humidity crazy high, but I think something like that he may have a picture of it, actually. Let me see. But it's basically just a giant tub with pothos growing in it, just in water, and he says it helps with the ambient humidity a lot.
so do you mean it for actual tadpoles, like for your dog frogs?
Yeah.
I'll be right back. This charger ain't working. Give me a minute.
Let's see.
How many species of darts do you have? I know you were trying to get rid of them, but
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think.
that's more than I thought. I thought she only had like 3. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if David has a picture of it on his page or not. But it's like this pothos in this probably 20 quart. It's probably better than that, actually. And it's just freaking exploded with plants. Yeah.
Okay, so when I was down there, Billy explained to me about pothos. Do you know how big pothos get?
I know some species get huge.
Yeah, like I didn't realize like the little ornamental pothos you get, those are like the little fresh baby leaves. And that whenever it actually gets to like a mature vine that grows up a tree, sometimes the leaves can be up to 3 feet wide,
Mm-hmm.
or like 3 feet long. I had no idea. And he'd point them out like, see that thing growing up that tree? It's a pothos. I'm like, what? Yeah, like I thought a pothos is just a little vine that you have that you
No, some of them get huge.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But this
And whenever
is
they
what
get
David.
big, it's like these long banana leaf looking things with these like slits in them, so that the wind doesn't bother them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Billy schooled me on pothos vines. a couple weeks ago, and then he gave me a potho. So I'm hoping that one day is a giant thing like that.
Yeah, we have one growing on our front porch, and it doesn't even come inside, and it's been getting into like the 30s and stuff here, and that thing can't be killed, man. It's friggin' indestructible. But I mean,
that
that
should be better.
That's a pretty easy way to bump up humidity, and it's kind of an air purifier, I guess, in a sense too. David swears by it, so.
I always like people that have like a little bit of greenery growing in their snake rooms too.
I've thought about putting a couple live plants in mine, I think it would help with humidity and stuff. And I've got quite a few pothos starts. I may just do that and start wrapping them around the freaking the garage door, like rollers and stuff like that, or my snake room. It may look cool.
I've got some clippings growing in some of my cages, just in the water bowl.
Dude, they're cool plants.
It looks good. I don't know if it makes a bit of difference, but.
Okay, so completely off subject.
What?
How do you guys grow your facial hair like you did? Because I'm going on like the longest it's ever been right now, and I feel like my face is covered in steel wool. Like, I don't know if
good jeans.
Honestly,
jeans is the first one. Yep.
But like, dude,
honestly, that's the
put some beard oil in there.
Phase. That's the worst phase of a beard is that length.
Yeah.
Because you've got to like curling and then coming back and touching your face and shit, and it makes it real itchy. If you can get past that, my buddy's always like, dude, we live in Texas. How do you have this giant long beard? I said, do you see that I don't have any hair on the top of my head? Plus, you just don't think
he rises.
It, yeah. I just don't. I've used beard oil. That's the main thing. Is like you gotta put product in it, dude. Because if you don't, it gets dry, and then your skin itches real bad, and like you have breakage, and it won't get long. I mean, I know that's way off. Like sounds super diva, but you gotta take care of it. It's just like your hair. You gotta take care of your hair.
I just wash mine with the expensive shampoo Katie buys.
I wash mine like with a scrub once every 2 weeks. Other than that, I just rinse it out real good and put beard oil in it because my skin, if I use like shampoo and shit on it, it starts to fall out. My skin doesn't like the soap and stuff. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to do it every once in a while. But honestly, my sister-in-law is a hairdresser, and she said that when you're rinsing it like in hot water and then you're reapplying oil, it's the same thing as cleaning it. You're doing the same thing. It's not like you have a dirty face or anything like that.
Dan said he would jump on, but Austin's beard puts his red beard to shame. It's not a competition, Dan, but if it was, Austin would definitely win.
I've had a beard since 2012, so I just trim it up. This is about the length that I like to keep it. I don't like going much longer than this, and it starts to impede my work and shit. So
yeah, I remember back when you were something, and
some Final Destination shit.
What'd you say?
I said I remember back when you were red beard reptiles, and those people got mad at you.
Yeah, they were real nasty about it too, man. I was a straight up honest mistake, and they started being all like homophobic and like calling me all kinds of crazy shit. I mean, I'm not gay, but like my brother is, like that's offensive, And I was like, bro, you could have totally come at me a different way and been like, hey, this is our name. I mean, I did a search, nothing popped up, and then they started talking all kinds of crazy shit on social media, and I was like, right on. I was super pissed off. I was like, Rage Beard Reptiles works. I'm fucking irritated. That's how the name came about.
So it was somebody else who was already using that name, and then they.
Yeah, somebody in Salt Lake. I don't even think they're a thing anymore. They may be, but honestly, I don't give a fuck.
I know that happened.
That's a little bit of a sore subject. That pissed me off a little bit. That was not the name, but yeah, that was one of them deals where I was just like, you don't have like I would never come at somebody. I would be like, yo, at least like start a dialogue, not come out of the gate and be like, you piece of shit, gay, like that's crazy, dude. That's insane.
Mine would have been Palmetto State Exotics, but someone had also already claimed that, and I don't think they're around anymore either. So.
I feel like Palmetto Coast sounds better anyway, so.
Proof's in the pudding, man. Proof's in the pudding. You stick around and be all right.
But that happened to April Justine recently too. Like she was designer exotics, and then I guess someone else started doing designer exotics, and so then she changed it to designer Bloods by Design or something like that. I forget, but
now, like back then, I didn't really have any clout. Not that I have much now, but I feel like if someone came in and was trying to do that shit to me, I'd be like, dude, I've got a logo. I've been doing this shit for quite a while. I'm not changing my name. Go fuck yourself.
straight up. I cannot wait for these subocs to get big enough for me to breed them.
Yeah, I'm pretty jealous of those, man. I want them.
I remember when Casey messaged me on my email in like 2015. I didn't even know who he was. He messaged, it was a weird way, but he got a hold of me like, hey man, you got that. Huh?
It was kind of a weird way. I remember like
it was email. It was like, it wasn't even on social media. It was an email or something like that. And he's like, hey, would you be interested to do a breeder loan? And I was like, I mean, I've got plans for that male this year. We may be able to work something out. Let's talk. And that's how me and you first met each other. It was interesting.
I think I found it like some way through like the Bush League thing.
Yeah, I was on Bush League.
Yeah. I think we were both on Bush League back then. And I had that like awesome female that I just wanted the perfect male for. And I thought the male you had was perfect for her. So like, dude, we got to figure something out because this is like too good to not happen. And then it never happened because she died. But
well, and then you got the two that following year. You got those two. So it was 2015 that you messaged me because I was coming up on his first breeding season, and I was really pumped. And I was like, I think about it, but I got plans for him. It's weird how the ball rolls, man. It's real strange how you meet people in this hobby.
So I actually was never on Facebook until you and I talked.
Yep. I remember being like, dude, you got to get on social media. You got to do it.
So that was pretty fun. I think you were actually my first Facebook friend.
And we haven't talked face to face until just now. So that's crazy, right?
And this isn't even like face to face.
No. I think next time that Southern Carpet Fest, or not Southern, Southeastern, because I don't know what the fuck's going on with Southern Carpet Fest, but Southeastern Carpet Fest goes on, I'm going to make my way down there because I got family down there and stuff, so I could kind of make it a dual trip,
Oh, yeah.
I really want to do it here in South Carolina, but I don't like.
You should.
We don't have anywhere to we don't have a place big enough to really host it anywhere.
That's been the problem with Southern for the last couple years. I think the last one we did was 2018, and since then it's just like you don't want to put it off on somebody else. And I would host it, but my house is freaking tiny. Like there's just a lot of logistics to go into throwing something like that, and it's asking a lot of somebody to be like, hey man, can we have a bunch of strangers come to your house? And it's asking a lot,
Yeah, and that's I mean, hats off to P and Cody, man, because when you have a house full of stuff like that, it's like you got to be pretty trusting in a lot of people to do something stupid.
Yes. I mean, and honestly, it was the best thing as far as me getting knowing people in the community in 2015 when we had the first one at Bill Stiegel's place. It was awesome, man. I got to meet a bunch. It connected to me to all. Like I met Eric Burke for the first time. I've been listening to him for freaking 3 years on a podcast. And then, I go to this party that I don't really know anybody, and I get to meet Eric Burke, and me and Evan Browder and Eric Burke and Bill Stiegel and Ezra, and we're all just hanging out till 3 a.m. bullshitting about snakes. And these people were strangers hours ago, and it's kind of cool how that kind of thing can develop long-lasting friendships and connections in the hobby,
Yeah, hanging out with Eric's cool, man. He came down to Carpet Fest in 2018, and he's a cigar guy too. He's not a super heavy cigar guy, but he smokes them, and that was the best part was just hanging out, and that's the best kind of sort of get-togethers are the one where it's everyone just you do whatever you want. It's not.
Yep.
No pressure. There's not you get to see badass snakes like the Sickness and hold rough scale pythons for the first time, and it's cool, man. It's really cool. I wish we would get. I think now that Bill he recently retired and moved and stuff. I think they're talking about doing it again, but now with COVID and all that shit, who knows?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's
That's why we. I mean, as far as like Southeast Carpet Fest, next year, I pretty much told Pio was like, this year's there was a lot going on. There was a lot involved. It was very, very involved, and I was like, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to take a year off because of that, and and COVID and all that stuff. So I don't believe there's going to be one next year unless it changes. And
yeah, it's a shame, man. It kind of sucks that I haven't got my fix in 2 years. We've had 2 years off down here, so it's like, and like everybody thinks that like Texas, everybody's in like these people are in Texas, but it's such a big state. Like these people are all over the place, dude. Like they're not local. It's not like you just hop in your car and go see somebody,
right. 8 hours away.
I mean, Bill's pretty local to me. I bet you if I hit him up, he'd let me come over. But he lives probably like 45 minutes away from me. But it's such a cool hang, man. I don't know.
Oh, it's a blast.
Oh, I agree.
It's awesome like the day of, but if you're one of the ones sort of putting it together, it can definitely be sort of stressful. And
I was always in charge of the T-shirts, so that was easy for me. I was just like, I'll do the design for the T-shirts and bring all the T-shirts. That'll work. I'll do that.
And Scott said inlands need to get crazy cold.
What did you say, Casey?
I said I do feel like they need to drop the pressure on some of these a little bit, You
mean like with the auctions and stuff?
Yeah, with the auctions. Like I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Carpet Fest right now when it really just needs to be a snake nerd barbecue.
That's the first 2 or 3, like first 2 down here were just like snake nerd barbecues, dude. There's a T-shirt involved. Proceeds went to USR. That's it. That's pretty low stress, man. I mean, it wasn't at my house, so I don't know how much that was involved. I'm sure it was pretty high stress for the people that were like Bill, who was hosting, and Tony did it in 2018. So I'm sure that's stressful, but.
Well, I think it'd be fun is just do like a herping trip.
Yeah.
I would like to go out to West Texas.
Exactly.
We were supposed to go out to West Texas in September. Me and Evan and Ezra and stuff, and a few other guys, and it just COVID and all that shit. It just didn't happen, man. I've got a pretty nice 1991 Jeep Laredo Cherokee, not Grand Cherokee that's all 4x4 and lifted and shit. I think it would be fun to take it out there and do some herping, man.
Absolutely.
That would be fun.
I haven't done any field herping, really.
I don't do a whole lot of it. I mean, I found that sweet black racer the other day, Casey. Casey saw it.
I did. I wanted to catch it. He had no fear whatsoever in picking up this black racer. It was
just shitting and biting all over you, huh?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That indigo you found was pretty dope, Casey.
What happened to us talking about? We're supposed to be talking about field herping.
We were talking about field herping, but yeah, I did not find it. I can't take credit for it. I was out with KJ.
Okay.
KJ Kuster, and it was crossing the road. We found it. He was able to kind of like, you're not allowed to touch it. It is a federal crime to touch an indigo. So we just had it kind of coaxed this way without touching it. So we were able to kind of get some quick pictures and then just let it go without touching it again.
Yeah, without touching it.
Without touching it. For
the record.
Federal crime, especially one that you didn't know.
That's pretty cool find, though, man.
Was it like a big one, or was it kind of?
It was a pretty good size one. I would say this thing was easily like 5.5 feet, and it was thick too.
I've always wanted to go down to South Texas and find the Texas indigos.
So cool. So this one though, KJ said like basically that might have been the rare thing we could have found that day too, because it was middle of November, middle of the day, and North Florida, where really like indigos are not super common to begin with. But we think what it was like a nearby property. They were hunting with dogs, So we're wondering, like, what I think might have happened was maybe like one of the dogs kind of like stirred it up a little bit,
Flush it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's probably
yeah,
a good thing that they didn't find it, because who knows if they would have.
oh, they would have.
Every good snake's a dead snake.
It's a cottonmouth. Kill it.
Yeah.
The story KJ finds of like the stuff he found, like hunters just recently running over, just is horrible.
Yeah, I got my dad to like not. So my dad was not. He's not a snake guy at all. And after he lived with me, like up in my spare bedroom for like 3 years, paid rent, whatever. He's a trucker, so he's gone a lot. And I've kind of changed. He used to go out of his way to run them over and do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And I've changed his mind on snakes completely. And it's almost it's gotten to the fact, like the point where he's now, like, he still doesn't want to touch them or anything like that, but he understands the role that they play. He respects the role that they play. And now he's teaching people who also have the same perspective as he does, that are also truckers doing the same shit he does about them, and trying to get them to not run them over when they see them on the road as well, which is kind of a cool thing, man.
That is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear some of the things people, like the myths and stuff, and it's like, what made you think that was reality?
Like a milk snake sucking on a cow's teat to get milk.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Or the coach whip, like, rolling itself into a hoop and chasing you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
when have you ever seen a snake do that ever?
Yeah, no, never.
I'm not gonna lie, it'd be super cool to see though. If they could actually,
Yeah.
Holy shit! It actually does happen.
That's a species I never see or never find, or coach whips.
I've seen a couple coach whips. I've never been able to grab them, but I've seen them.
I think I saw one down in Sallyland, South Carolina, but that's it.
if you go around some of like the sandy areas around Daytona, I've seen the pink ones out there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Badass. They're really cool snakes, man. It's a shame that you can't, like, I don't know. It seems like it's not an ethical thing to keep in captivity unless you have like an entire room and all that shit. But they're pretty neat snakes.
The buttermilks are awesome. Like the buttermilk racers. I love those.
I've never seen those.
Ooh. Stand by.
we're gonna show it.
I don't know why they're called buttermilk racers, but because there's nothing about these snakes that says, oh yeah, I think of buttermilk when I see that.
Well, they break into people's houses and they drink the buttermilk.
I guess so.
They get caught in the middle of the night, open the refrigerator. Oh shit, you got me.
Not in the buttermilk.
I was marinating some chicken. God damn.
Wow, that's pretty snake.
Buttermilk. What are you talking about? I totally see it.
I mean,
Do people put pepper in buttermilk?
yeah. If you're marinating chicken.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're just as volatile as the blacks.
That's cool, man.
I don't know. Racers are cool. They're just like, I see them now and I'm like, I ain't even going to bother.
I never get the chance usually. They're already gone by the time I see them.
Yeah.
These are really cool too. This is another racer. Mobius.
How's your little Mediterranean gecko colony going?
Like almost all of them escaped, and they're in my garage here somewhere.
Yeah, I've got them in my garage. Occasionally, I see them in my snake room. They're just. I always wonder, like, if they get into like the Amazon tree boa cage or something, if they would eat them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my room's sealed off for snakes, but those little geckos can get through anything, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I also have. I think they went up. There's a big enough gap above me here.
Yeah.
That they probably went in the attic. So I don't know. I managed to get one, and I froze it so I could use it to scent for the boiga. But I assume they all got out because I saw one in the corner like a couple like a week or
I've
so.
got a couple tanks that are just sitting around. I think this next spring, because I've got like an ass load of them that live on my back patio.
Yeah.
Then we find like eggshells and all kinds of stuff. But I was thinking about getting some just for, I don't know, to have that as a scenting option and stuff like that. And if I can breed them in captivity for a while to where maybe they won't be so parasite ridden and all that jazz. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna try feeding, offering a scented pinky again to those boiga. Probably after they shed here. I'm thinking they're gonna shed in the next couple days. So,
man, I really would like to get into boiga. I just worry about. How hands off can you be? Like, can you treat them and interact with them like they're a hot, or do you have to be hands on with them?
I mean, if I have to do anything as far as like stuck shed or something, I just tube them.
Okay. I couldn't. I'm too allergic to weird shit, man. If I got bit, something weird would probably happen, and I'd end up having to go to the hospital. And I really I would love to keep them. The Nigroceps?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, I would like to get some of those. But I don't know. I'm like on the fence. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of on the dice a little bit.
My adults are pretty well behaved for the most part. They're definitely nervous snakes. They're most of the time they just want to get away from me as fast as possible. But like the babies will, they'll rear up and stand their ground. But my adults, for the most part, they'll if I have them cornered or something, they won't hesitate to take a few swings. But if you use hooks and stuff, I mean, they're really not anything.
What was your hatch rate on those?
I got a clutch of 9. I had 5 come out, and then I lost like 2 of those 5 died for whatever. One of them I kind of figured would die because it was like the one that took the longest, and it was pretty runty compared to the other ones. Because 3 of them all weighed 6 grams, and then the other 2, one was 5 grams, one was 4 grams. The 4-gram one was the first one to go, and then the other one, the 5-grammer, I don't know why that one died, but I mean, whatever,
Yeah. Is that train too loud? Do I need to mute my mic? Sorry,
nope.
guys.
That's fine.
I'm inside my garage this time, so I was hoping that it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, I forgot Bill has one or several. And he says Illinois requires him to treat them like they're hot. And I mean, that's the smart thing to do, period, with anything rear fang.
It's the only way that I could keep them. I just couldn't risk it.
I feel like I beat that horse to death, a dead horse to death. It's like is it going to kill you? Is it going to put you in the hospital? Probably not, but
it just depends on you.
Why find out?
Yeah, rolling that dice.
Yeah. Also, like Barons, Joe just got a Barons racer. I would love to have Barons, man. I think they're badass snakes. And I like the size that they get too. It's pretty impressive.
The book I'm reading right now, that's Venomous Bites from Non-Venomous Snakes. It talks about colubrids and rear-fanged, rear-fang species, and they talk about Phylogyrus a lot because there's one species in particular. It's not Baroni. It's the Ulfaci. Those have bit a good bit of people, in their native range, and there's a story floating around about that species that it killed somebody, but the book basically said like they have no idea if that actually happened or not. There was no information to sort of back that up, whether it was something related to another injury. So I mean, Phylogyrus, I do think they are of the rear fang stuff. I think they're kind of right up there with boiga. They are. Yeah. There is a potential for some medical significance. But my adult Cyanea, because Miguel asked, probably, my female's probably 4 feet, my male's probably about 3-ish. I bred them surprisingly small. I think a lot of people probably would have waited at least another year or 2 to pair them, but I got a wild hair. And 2 clutches, so.
Yeah.
So I have 3 healthy babies.
They'll double clutch?
Yeah.
That's badass.
How big is the second clutch?
Second clutch was 8 eggs.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's substantial. Usually whenever any of my colubrids that double clutch, the second clutch is trash. It's never good at all. So.
I wiped the lid in the incubator last night, and I don't know how well this clutch is going to do. But yeah, I mean they're definitely, they weren't large Cyanea, but yeah, I only paired them once, and she had a shed, and I was like, oh, that's weird. She just shed not that long ago, and then she refused food, and then I took a closer look, and she was really fat in the the back half, and I was like, oh, she's got another clutch coming. So
That's badass, man. I hope you have luck with those. I think getting them feeding and stuff, that'd be really substantial. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
the only other
just tail them until they start taking off is kind of that's the easy route. I'm going to try scenting and some other stuff before I do that. So
yeah, I've kind of gotten to and that's probably not the way that I would work with something like that, or like especially like my poplin stuff like that is like. Typically, if you're a non-feeder, I'll go through the motions. I'll do the best I can to get you going. But if you're not going to eat, sorry, like it's just not meant to be. Now, I wonder if my tune will change if I ever produce poplins or something like that. I'm sure it will. But with this stuff that's established in captivity, like Brettles and stuff like that, if you're not going to eat, then it's just not meant to be, man. I'm not going to sit here and fight with you for a year and try to give you like I already give a lot of different like prey options. That's kind of how I do things, and if you're not going to try one of the 6 different things that I feed, then I don't know. Maybe that's just me being lazy, but it's kind of my idea. But
I mean, if it's something that like Brettles, which should be pretty trouble free as far as getting them started, like but I think with like chondros and boiga and some of those like rhino rats, some of the specialized stuff, it's almost a requirement that you have to do the dance and the stupid bullshit.
And like with the poplins, it's from what I've heard and talked to people that have bred them and stuff, it's like it's just part of the deal. It's like they want fowl when they're born, like when they're young, that's what they want, and so you just got to give them that. And you have to present it a certain way. I've gotten quite a few very young poplins eating, and it's all about how you present it. I'm sure Eric's talked about this on NPR, and it's 100% true. You have to present it like head first, perfect, and they have to hit it just right, and it's got to be what they want. I've got a couple of poplins that they will only take fowl, and that's just what it is. I've got one that will take whatever you give it, and that's awesome too, And typically I've found that once they get a certain age, they kind of switch from that, like only wanting bird to, whatever it is, I'll take it,
Yeah.
So it's just having the patience and I guess having the ability to procure the food that they want. And luckily I'm able to do that, but.
Yeah. And that's like what Matt's saying. People think boiga are hard to breed, and he said they're just hard to acclimate, and that's definitely the truth with imports. I'm a firm believer that whether it's import chondros or import boiga, if you can get them as small as possible, you're going to have the much easier time with them. Because once they do come off tails or whatever, and they start eating on their own, like they're pretty bulletproof. But I do want to try some dart froglets because my Vitatus produce like crazy. So I want to see if maybe some small frogs. I think at that size, I mean, they come out so small, it's unbelievable. They probably come out about the same, not a whole lot smaller than a chondro. And I think at that size, small geckos and frogs are probably a pretty good chunk of their diet.
Yeah. You would, definitely. You would think that's because that's what they can handle, right? That's what's all over the place. So. Also, another thing with like the import stuff is, and I think it was just lack of experience, but I didn't believe the whole don't deworm them as soon as you get them, blah, blah, blah. I thought, no, deworm them. And then I had 2 different, like I had an Amazon crash on me when I did that. And I almost lost one of my poplin imports because of that. And I can tell you, I probably won't deworm something until I've had it for a year from now on if it's an import, just because they crash, man. It's bad, bad.
Well, I think it's the combination of the stress, being immunocompromised, and then you putting these drugs into them, and I think that does a number on their their kidney and their livers and stuff like that.
It's one of those things that I wish that I would have listened to other people that like did it before me and not had to like deal with it. I don't know. Sometimes I'm hard headed as fuck and I just do what I want to do. And if I don't know, that's definitely a piece of advice that I think that if you're dealing with import, unless I don't know, I still think that if you can get it feeding, that should be like feeding and hydrated. That's number one. That's it. If you can get it feeding and hydrated solid, do that, and then after that, if it's like then, however, if you feel like you should, I don't know, man. I'm even on the fence of doing it like 6 months into it. I don't know. If they're rocking and rolling and you're not seeing a bunch of parasites and worms and stuff coming out of them, I don't know.
Well, you think
I've
about
had
it,
animals like that.
You think about it too. I mean, the point of the worms and stuff isn't to kill the host.
Yeah.
So it's really, I mean, yeah, you probably don't want them there any longer than they need to be, but at the same time, it's not like a viral or bacterial infection where it's like we got to fix this like right now.
Yeah.
It's like these things are gonna do what they do because if they kill their host, then what's the point of their existence? And that's the biggest thing I hear with like imported Gonyosoma and imported like adult Boiga. If you treat them like straight out the gate, you're really putting yourself in an uphill battle. Because I was told with Gonyosoma especially, like don't touch them with any dewormer or anything for as long as you can, really. And even then, I've noticed with my Jansen, my female, when I first got her, she had a few BMs and there were some worms in there. But I haven't seen any since. So I think also once you get them eating on a cleaner food, that isn't loaded down with nematodes and other stuff like that, it does sort of cut back a little bit. But I don't know. It's deworming. I mean, it's easy because I usually just go get some fenbendazole from Tractor Supply or something. And,
yep.
Inject it into food and
just feed it off, and it's an easy thing to do, but it's also something that like you can fuck up and do too early, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the worst case I had, and this one didn't crash or anything, and it was my first poplin, and so this is what like gave me. I was thinking like my thoughts had some validity was. I got my first poplin in, wild caught, probably like a 6 foot animal whenever I got her, or him. It was a her. That's a him.
It's the Bruce Jenner of poplin.
Yeah. And so like he was in quarantine, and I had him for about a month, and like, so I think I was feeding cleaner food, and I was getting like balls of like red roundworms, no fecal material, just like a ball of red roundworms that it was like expelling, So I saw that and I hit it with a dewormer and it was no problem. Mm-hmm. And then the next one that I got in, I did the same thing and it fucking crashed like bad. And
it's just, I mean, it's shock because you also think if you're killing those parasites and stuff, they're not exactly coming out of the body right away. So there is a chance, I guess, of like sepsis or something like that because you have a decaying organism in the organism.
Yeah.
You get blood infections and stuff like that. And, it's.
Yeah. She ended up bouncing back. She's fine now. She's probably my favorite poplin I got, but it was scary, and she was in rough shape when I got her. And honestly, like hindsight, so I purchased her in 2018. So hindsight, I should have never done any of that stuff, but now I know and I won't do it again. I'll tell you that. So.
I was listening to, I think, Al Cortez. I think that's his. No, I can't remember his name. Talking about importing like boom slings and Atrox and stuff, and he's like, don't touch it with any dewormer, anti-parasites, any of that stuff until you had it for a year or so. And I think that, as y'all were saying, that's kind of the rule of thumb, unless you absolutely have to, and then the animal might die anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you bred snakes, period, you're going to have some percentage of nematodes or something. Like,
yes,
even if it's a captive bred animal, they're going to exist. It's a matter of is the animal's immune system being able to hold up to that, and sort of, is the parasite load being at a manageable level to where the body is sort of in sync with it, and it's borderline symbiotic, I guess. But it's when those animals get immunocompromised and they're stressed and their whole system's just on red alert that those little bastards.
All the secondary shit starts happening. That's what happened with the poplin, and she got a real bad upper respiratory and was like blowing mucus everywhere. I was like, shit, man. You don't see these very often, and like to pick them up, and I just fucked up big time. But luckily, she bounced back. But so, Casey, you said, sorry, go ahead. I was changing.
I was
topics,
say like
so
all the eastern hog noses that when I worked at the nature center at my first job, we had eastern hog noses, and those almost always seem to have a shelf life where after about a year they're dead, and it's if you're feeding, I noticed too all the ones that I've seen that died in captivity that were wild caught. They just had worms like coming out of their mouth, and I don't know what it is about them in captivity where they're eating toads and they're getting these parasites and they're not surviving versus them being out in the wild and having these parasites and doing fine. Maybe it's just that captive environment, but
stress maybe.
I mean that's the only thing I can think of. But it's odd that you can have like at some point they do sort of take hold in some species and it just doesn't work out. But
yeah,
I don't know.
You were talking about I saw you've gotten into northern emeralds, and I had one that had that chronic regurg, and I fought it for a year and ended up passing on me. So, like, what's your collection of northerns? If you're willing to share, what's your collection of northerns? Like, your numbers? I'd like to know. I want to get back into emeralds again. It's just that was a shit experience, but yeah, I was wanting you to talk a little bit about that.
I've got 5 of them right now, and so far they're all fine. I had one die, which was a captive born and bred baby, but it was kind of runty, so maybe it just kind of never really meant to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had another one that I believe this might have also been captive born and bred that wouldn't eat for me, but I sent it back to Gary Savina, who I got it from. It ate for him. Then he sent it back to me. It wouldn't eat for me. And then I ended up I contacted Warren Booth, and I was like, hey, man, like, I'm either going to bury this thing in my backyard or I'm going to give it to you. So just figure it out.
Yeah.
And I sent it to him, and it ate within like a couple of days. It just didn't like me.
Yeah.
So
I talked to him for about 4 hours on the phone trying to get mine going, Warren, and it sucks, man, because it's like such a slow, like, shitty decline because you have this animal that's like seems to be doing well, and then all of a sudden it's just puke. You wait a month and a half, 2 months, feed it again, puke, and you're like, fuck, man. It's real irritating.
But I mean, all my other ones are fine. Like,
yeah.
I've just really had these. I guess in general, so I've had 3 problem animals, and then the rest of them they're great. Like, they're not hard to get to feed. They're really doing pretty well. I've raised a couple of them from being so a couple of the ones I bought were born green, but I bought a few that were born red. So that's been kind of cool to watch, like that color progression go from red to green.
Yeah,
but
mine was red, and it started going green before it died. But
the one that's growing up, it digests the like all the internal organs. It does not seem to be able to digest the fur. If that makes sense. Like when it regurgitates, it's like a little fur pellet kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen it poop and I've seen it shed. So like I know if it poops, that means it's getting some nutrients, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like something's going through the digestive system and going through the body. So I'm not like completely going to call it a lost cause. I decided that I was going to try, if I can find like hairless mice, I'm going to try that just to see if like maybe it just can't handle fur right now. Maybe like it'll be able to handle fur in a couple months. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Have you tried feeding birds?
I have not. I don't really know where to get. I guess I could get some quail, like day-old quail.
You could get some like day-old button quail but like it depends on how big. Mine, I don't know that it could have handled even a button quail, man. I don't know how small yours is, but it was small. Mine was.
Let me see. Hold on, I can probably go get it. It's right over here.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go make a drink real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, Phil had me thinking about that whole, like with the crypto episode we had the other night, are like emeralds just hypersensitive to, crypto that might be in corn snakes or something where they're completely asymptomatic and have no problems, is that the reason they have that regurg problem? Because, if anybody listened to that episode, that was one of the sort of the telltale signs is continuous regurg, was crypto,
Yeah.
That was so it's interesting to think about.
So here's the puker.
Awesome.
Yeah, Bill. I mean, that could be it. Bill asked, should they be eating lizards then if they can't deal with fur, and that's very possible.
Oh, that's a beautiful animal, dude.
Yeah, it's a little puker.
Little puker. Yeah, mine didn't even get that big. I don't think. I've got pictures of it on my Instagram, probably like a year or two ago. I can't remember when it passed. It was a while ago, but it was a beautiful animal, man. But it sucks when you get an animal that you're super pumped about and it just crashes, man.
I'm gonna see if I can. Let me see if I can get my anaconda, please.
El Condro. That's what me and Casey call him.
Mine was what do you call it? Captive born from a gravid female import is what they said. So
I'd like to get some eventually. I
think I'm gonna go basins. I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. I'm just gonna pony up the cash and get basins and be done with it.
Yeah, I'd like to keep them, but it's not anywhere near the top of my priority list.
I would say it's up there for me. It's top 3 for sure. I don't know. I really dig my Amazons, but I'm good as far as numbers with those. And then I would say basins, and then I want to get one of those red albino bull snakes just to complete my set. But
there we go.
Oh yeah,
give it a kiss.
Oh yeah, especially this one.
Boop it, snoot.
Boop it, snoot.
New lip piercing.
Are any of yours tracked? Can you handle any of yours or no?
Doesn't look like it.
I really don't work with them. Honestly, man, I treat these guys like they're venomous. Like, I know what their teeth look like, and I just don't want anything to do with one of their bites,
Yeah. No, I got bit by my small one, and I was like, holy shit. And it was not a big animal, and it hurt, dude.
I've been nipped by this one. Like, just a little nip, and I bled a lot.
Yeah, that's how the one I got bit with was just a small little nip, and it was quite a lot of blood and pretty painful for the size of snake it was.
I want Rushis. That's if I'm gonna do Corrales, man. I got to get some Ruschenberger eye. Those are sweet.
Rushis are cool. I would like to get some annulateds as well.
Those are cool.
Not those dirty brown ones either. The really pretty orange ones.
No,
there's one on
the top of my list.
There's one of those nice orange. There's a nice orange male on Wharf Market right now going for $2,000. So I was like, man, I wish I had the cash. Ooh, I wish I had it. But I really dig Corrales in general. They're just badass.
I've had a handful of Amazons, over the years. Me and Jake went in on a trio last year, the year before last, and then we ended up losing all 3 of them, and that just left a bad taste in my mouth. And now I'm like,
they passed away?
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that sucks. Were they wild caught?
I believe they were imports. Yes.
3 of my 4 are captive born. I've got 1 red import, and it seems to be doing okay. But that's what I hear with those the Hortolanis imports is like they'll be rocking and rolling, and then you'll go in there and they're just croaked.
Yeah.
After like a year or 2. So.
Yeah, I've had captive bred ones in the past, and they're cool snakes, but I just, like I said, after that, I'm like, man, unless it's a Rushi, I'm not dealing with it anymore. But
Rushis are badass.
Then I see some of the ones that people post, and I'm like, man, those Amazons are nice.
What I miss?
I really dug that anaconda phase is dope, man. I like that.
Dude, I love the anaconda phase emeralds. Like, honestly, I see a lot of people breeding emeralds for high white, but when I look at them, I want them to I either want anaconda phase or like very low white. To me,
I
want
both.
And I've got both too. Like, I've got some pretty high white northerns.
I like those crosses. Have you seen those 75% crosses? Those are sick, dude. Those are insane.
It's kind of funny with boas. Like, I'm kind of a hybrid guy, but with pythons, I'm pretty much a purist.
Yep. Yeah, dude, I would agree with that. I've seen some pretty dope hybrid, like the northern emeralds to the. I know that they don't live typically they've died, but those hybrids of the Hortolanus and the Northerns are pretty sick.
That is the coolest snake hybrid ever, in my opinion.
It's pretty cool, man. It's sad that it doesn't live.
So many different looks to them.
Yep. Not one of them looks the same. It doesn't seem like, at least the pictures that I've seen, they all look completely different.
It's like that variability that what the Amazons naturally have. Just when you mix in that weird color change all the emeralds have, it's just bizarre what you get.
Yep. Yeah. It's the Carpondro of the New World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I dig the hell out of them. I can see myself going down the Corrales rabbit hole pretty deep, man.
Yeah, I don't know if they don't live. Like, I've heard different ideas as to whether or not they live, like, if they don't live well because people don't keep them well, or if they don't live well because, like, you got to think, like, the body structure of an emerald versus
They're a genetic mess.
so different. It's like, it's live well.
Completely different.
It's a
Yeah.
genetic dumpster fire.
It's a beautiful genetic dumpster fire.
It is.
That's probably why it's beautiful, though. You're taking two, like, completely incompatible body structures and just trying to, like, find a way to make them,
Yeah.
make them happen together. Like, can you imagine what that animal's organs and shit probably looks like? Get, like, an Amazon heart with, like, an emerald lungs and, like, it's probably just a dumpster fire. Like, it's probably a reason why they don't live long.
It's all pretty on the outside and looks like the Elephant Man on the inside.
My body doesn't work. Just kill me, man.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would ever attempt it, but I see pictures of them and they look super badass, man.
I would probably attempt it, but actually, now that I've like actually put those thoughts into words, I realize like, oh, there's probably a bad thing for those to exist, but they're so cool looking.
Yeah, I think that maybe like, and this is probably blasphemy as hell, but like I think maybe an annulated is probably closer to Hortolanus for a hybrid than an emerald is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Probably. Have you seen that new? Well, not the new species. The species they thought was extinct. They look like.
Dude, those look prehistoric. It looks like something out of like a 1860s biology books, like illustration sketch.
They really do.
Which ones?
It's like,
I can't remember what the hell they're called. It almost looks like it's like a scrub python, but a boa is what it looks like to me. It's like a weird. I don't know. What do you know what they're called?
If you took a rattlesnake and mixed it with an emerald, and that's what it would look like.
Yeah, that's probably closer for sure.
The Cropani?
Yeah, Cropani. That's it, Cropani.
Yeah. Those things are pretty sweet. I'll pull up a picture of those.
Those are really badass.
There's two they've actually taken a picture of.
Yeah, they're like a freaking lance head and a Hortulanus head.
Body. Yeah. Their body structure is super similar to an emerald. I'm curious to see it.
They're thick boy status for sure.
Ooh.
They're really cool looking.
Very odd.
Yeah, I'd probably get into those if I could.
Like the head structure.
I think they've only seen like 2 of them in the last 30 years or some shit like that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're very close to being gone forever.
Yeah, like all those pictures are of one animal. That's.
Didn't they they found one like 2 years ago? I thought they found another one recently.
I think you're right.
Maybe I'm off.
I think they knew from like science somebody found one. Like they knew they existed, but I don't think they ever found one alive. I think they went and found one just on a road.
Mm. Dude, that's a shame. You imagine finding something like that road killed on the side of the road. Oh my god.
It'd be like finding a thylacine.
Really good looking animal.
Yeah, I've been trying to work with my Hortolanus, just doing like a little bit of like low key handling and stuff with them, trying to get them to just a little. I don't ever expect them to be like a hardcore handlable animal, but I would like to be able to at least manage their cage and stuff without them like popping me and stuff. And it seems to be working. They're mellowing out a little bit. My captive born stuff, my wild caught male is a fucking nut job, but I would just like to be able to do maintenance on the cage, pull them out without being lit up. And what I found is with them, if you go underneath them and you're not coming at them like face forward, you get a lot better reaction for sure.
That's kind of how I was able to handle ring pythons.
Okay.
You have to be really slow,
I forgot
really
you had those.
methodical.
Do you still have those?
No, that was like a joint project with me and Don Patterson, so I was actually selling those.
Okay.
So I may get an adult pair eventually, but we'll see.
Yeah, those are really cool.
They are really cool.
Those would be on. I would say those would be on my like top 10 list for sure.
They're okay. I've actually had them, and I gotta say they're okay.
It's just an okay animal.
They're not a joy to keep. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, well, that kind of sucks.
What they have in appearance, they lack in personality.
Yeah, they very much. They have.
I was hoping that they would be kind of like the poplins a little bit, but my poplins are bad. I love interacting with them, even when they're pissed off. It's fun.
Yeah, rings don't move like a python. They move like a colubrid.
Okay.
And they have like a colubrid.
Okay.
So they're very quick. They're very jumpy.
They like to bite.
Yeah, they very much like to bite. They're spazzy. They must. But
I don't like I say I've got all this hortolonus, like these 4 hortolonus, but mine don't like my wild caught will musk like a son of a bitch.
Amazon musk is the worst.
It's awful. It smells like a tire fire, dude.
Yeah, it does.
Fucking gross.
Burnt rubber. It's it's horrible.
But the captive born ones I've got, they don't really musk, man. And I don't mind if I get bit, whatever. But the whole smelling like shit. Or because that musk is hard to wash off too. Yep. They musk you, and you're like, dude, I smell like it's so bad. It smells like you've been rolling around in a dumpster. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Dumpster juice musk.
You ever been musked on by baby brittles?
Yeah, my first clutch of the Force Harris line. There was about 4 or 5 of them in that clutch that musked a lot, but it was like the first 2 months of their life, and just over me routinely cleaning them and stuff, they stopped doing it. But it kind of threw me off a little bit. I was like, shit, I didn't even realize that was a thing. But it's not really that bad. What's that?
I said I'm glad I'm not the only one that's seen this then.
No, it happens, but I'm never an adult. Never an adult.
No, I haven't had an adult do it either. I had some for my first clutch that were just psychopaths, and honestly, even as sub-adults, they still haven't calmed down that much.
The male from that 2016 clutch that I'm cooling down right now, since he came out of the egg, is a legit nut job, dude.
Yeah,
I can't. The only way I can handle him is hooking him. Hooking him is the only way that I can handle him.
Yeah, I had some babies that literally would have rather broken their own spine than being picked up.
Mm-hmm.
You pick them up and the way they move and the way they fit, you could tell they would rather just snap their body in half than be
Kill me! Never take me alive, motherfucker.
That's how that male is, but he's pretty. So I'm like, we'll deal with it, I guess. I don't know. Plus, I kind of felt bad selling him to somebody because he's just a spaz, dude. He's like his mom. His mom, the Harris line female. He's just like her. But the only difference is he's 4 foot and she's 7, and I can tell you from experience, it really sucks to get bit by her. It's not fucking fun. It hurts.
Oh yeah, dude. The worst snake bite I have ever gotten was from a female Bredl's python.
Yep, me too. 100%.
Where I picked her up, and I knew she was off, but I was like, okay. Usually when I get them out, they're fine. And it happened fall time. I was looking at her. She wrapped up and she did that thing where she just kind of pushes right up against it and just fit right here, right on my ring finger, right where the joint is. Mm-hmm. And I feel I want to go to the doctor and see if I have a tooth stuck in here because it still hurts to this day.
Yep.
So I close my hand like this, and like it's a little swollen. Like honestly, I think she left a tooth in that knuckle of my ring finger.
A parting gift.
It's a really interesting feeling when you feel snake teeth go in between your joints. Because when my girl got me, she got me like on my left hand right here, and grabbed my index finger, and I could feel her fucking teeth go down in between the joint and hit the top of the hand right here, and I had a big hematoma. I ended up having to cut and like push blood out of my hand. The whole top of my hand blues like black and purple and shit. It was bad, dude. I was like, well, I guess I can't trust you anymore. And ever since then, I don't even know. I don't know if it's like a me thing or whatever, but she doesn't. She gets tailed and hooked out, and I don't mess with her, man.
She's completely untrustworthy. She is hook only for me.
5%ers, man. That's my motto. There's 5% of Brettles that are just absolutely psychotic.
I mean, I pulled her out a couple. It was like I would say like a month ago. Just kind of there was the hook, but I was using my hands. It was right there. I was just trying to like see how. And she did. You know that feeling when you start to pull them out and they wrap you and they start to really.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? And you're like, oh, shit. You're like, oh, and then you've got like a foot of the snake, and there's a whole nother 6 feet over here that's like, hey, buddy, I'm about to, and it's like face level, and you're like, oh. That was that move, and I was like, well, I guess you're just forever untrustworthy snake. I don't know what to do. And I don't want her to go, and she was my first Brettles python. That Harris line female is my first, and so like there's sentimental value, but at the same time, like I've got my forest male, I can go in there without a hook, pull him out, hands, whatever. Most of my Brettles pythons are like that. She is not, man. She's a freaking nut job.
See, this one's not a snake that bit me, and it's actually bit me multiple times. She's super food aggressive. Like every bite I have gotten from her is a full-on food bite. You know? Which
I think mine was I just ripped it out because of response. It was just such a surprise because she had it and it like tore my skin open and it was bad. It was not good. It's not good.
That was the first time I've ever actually had to hold a snake under a running faucet to get her to stop biting. Usually, like if you get bit, even if it's like a good feed bite, usually I can get him to like let go after a minute or two. You know?
Yeah, and like grab them with your other hand and like restrain them. Yeah.
Or they figure out like, okay, this is too big for me to eat, and I know like this bony thing's not a rat. This one straight up just had to hold her under a faucet and let the water like go down her throat for her to let go, and it took a while.
Waterboarder.
Well, like, and you look you think of like most Morelia in general, like you think of, like you look at them, and even a big one, like a 7-foot Brettles pipe, that's a big snake, right? Yeah. But I don't know if you guys have this deal, but like in my head, I'm like, it's a Brettles pipe, it's whatever, you know, I can handle it, you know. And then after she hit me, and I'm bleeding I was bleeding a lot, and I put her up, and I'm like looking at her head, and you see these muscles that are like this big on the back of her head, and you're like, that's substantial, you know. I mean, and I just didn't. I don't know. That was my first like really substantial bite, and the way that my hand bruised up and stuff, I was like, well, it just gave me a whole new respect for the power that they have. Just that, I mean, their head's like this big. That's not anything crazy, but they can do some damage, man.
Oh yeah, especially when they
absolutely.
Especially when they wrapped up on you and they really want to be wrapped up on you. You realize how much they're typically holding back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're holding them, you're like, okay, yeah, this is not too bad. You're not that strong. When they really want to hold on to you, there's a lot of muscle there they're not typically using.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to get bit by my male. That's for sure.
Yeah, my female, she's pretty untrustworthy. She's always kind of been. She's only got me once, but she gets close to my face. I guess the heat pits are on my nose and mouth, and one of these days I'm going to lose focus. I'm going to get bit in the face, but
don't do that. That's a bad idea.
Disclaimer here. Brettles are typically very, very trustworthy snakes that are very easy to handle.
Yes.
We're doing a bad job of marketing, right?
I know.
They're my favorite snakes because they're typically very, very handleable.
Yeah, Brettles are my favorite snakes too.
I love
My
that. I'll
male,
never
the
not
male I
like
got from
Brettles. I love them.
UKC is no problem, but he's like 18 inches, so it's not a big deal anyway.
Yeah, I would say so. I've got most of the Morelia in my collection is Brettles pythons, and I have 2 that I can't handle, and that's probably out of 20 Brettles pythons. I mean, not all of them are adults, but they're all tractable. It's just those 2, and even the one that's not, that Harris-line female, she was tractable up until she laid her second clutch, and since she laid her second clutch, it's just been. I don't know if it's like a hormonal change or something that happens or what. She's just not. I used to be able to pull her out and hold her on my neck and like all kinds of stuff. Give her to my kids, and you can't do that anymore. It's just not
you
a
still
thing anymore.
could, but
Yes would get called.
yeah, you know what else are really trustworthy snakes?
What's that?
Gaboon vipers.
Oh, super trustworthy.
Until they're not.
And until they're not.
Yeah, man. I'm not trying to do a bad PSA on those. I love them. They're my favorite.
Oh yeah, me either. They're probably my favorite python.
But there are. I think just like any snake, there's going to be a few outliers and some that you just can't trust, and that just is what it is.
Superior Morelia.
They are
the superior Morelia. Let me see. Yeah, right now it's 54 degrees in my cool down. That's not bad. And it'll probably drop down into the low 50s tonight, I think.
And you could probably offer them food right now and they'd still eat.
They would definitely eat.
And digest it just fine. Like
I stopped feeding my stuff Halloween, so none of my stuff's had meals, and not any of the Brettles pythons or the inlands or the Brisbanes. None of that's had meals since Halloween. I give them November to clean out, and then beginning between the 1st and the 5th of December is whenever I put them into cool down. So.
Yeah, my stuff I usually do a month. I'm usually a month ahead of you. Then I usually stop feeding stuff at the beginning of October, and then Halloween I'll kind of start cooling them down.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually right now is when I start warming them back up. But I'm going to let them get colder. Yeah, usually I start warming up around middle of December, but I'm gonna let them get colder for a while this year.
I don't start warming stuff up till the 15th of February typically, and then I'll bring them back in the snake room, and then just set everything to a gradual warm up, and then after about a week of them being in the snake room and hitting some warmer temperatures, I'll offer a real small meal, and then I offer that not big, but bigger meal. So, and usually that pushes them into cycling, and I can introduce males after that second meal is typically what I do.
Yeah, that's how I am. Yeah, that big meal and the shed, and the females really let off the hormones once that shed happens.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that for sure. It's just that's the way that I've done it, and I've had success. So I'm just not switching it up, and I'm kind of using the same recipe this year with the inlands and hoping for success. So
yeah, I think it'll work with the inlands, no doubt.
Are yours Mogs?
Yeah, both of them are Mog line inlands I got from Nick.
Nice.
I've had and I think they're 16s, but it took me a year to pay them off, so I got them in 17. Nick's a good dude. He lets you do shit like that if you've done business with him. So
I'm gonna get my hands on some eventually.
Yeah, me too.
They're badass. They're definitely underrated. I don't know. I don't think they're as easy. I don't want to say Brettles are easy to produce, but if you just look at sheer numbers, I don't know if it's just popularity, but I've talked to Michael Pinnell, and he's had issues with producing them. He has produced them, but I don't know. I don't know if it's you just got to get them colder or what, but I don't think it's the recipe. I don't think is as fine tuned as it is with Brettles pythons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that would make sense. I mean, there's really not a ton of people who have been breeding them. Even over the years, they've never been.
I just don't think that. I don't know. I don't think there's enough people doing it to where even whenever I started doing it in 16, there had been plenty of people that had done Brettles pythons before me, and so I had a little bit of a recipe,
Right.
And sometimes it seems like the inlands is like kind of up in there. They're like, well, we do it like the Brettles, and I had success last year, but I did the same thing this year, and I didn't have success. I don't know. It doesn't seem as like cut and dry to me.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's nobody that really doesn't have a good sized group of them.
Yeah.
I know there's Tim Kendall over in the UK, but there's no one.
He makes some crazy shit. He makes some really cool inlands, dude.
Well, I'm surprised there's not really been somebody that's decided to be like the inland person in the US, you know? Like,
Yeah.
There's nobody that I can see that's got like 10 inlands.
What's
I
the
think
other
it's
line?
a
Not the
matter
Mog
of
line.
the
What's the other line?
Schofield.
So there's
Schofield. I want to get a Schofield male just so I can throw it in and get some more genetic diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Jewlander had an unrelated male, so there's like 2.5 bloodlines.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's really not a lot to work with, and I think that might play a factor into why there's
For sure.
someone hasn't really
Yeah.
dug into them a whole lot. It's because you're kind of what you have is what you have, and there's really no way to sort of change it up. So
That probably will be on my list of things to acquire is a Schofield line, male or female. I really don't care. Whatever's available. So.
Mhm. I was just on Fauna, and Martin Roseman had Mog Schofield crosses for like 900 a pair, I think, or something like that.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No.
It's pretty consistently what they've been worth for a while, right? About
Yeah,
900.
I think I got mine for like 8 or something like that. The Mog line, somewhere.
Yeah.
It's been a few years. I can't remember, but it's somewhere around there.
They've been pretty consistent.
Their prices have held, and it's because no one produces them in mass, man.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna
So,
get
I don't
some.
know.
Damn it.
They're cool, man, and they're smaller. At least mine are, and I mean I feed them pretty much the same as I feed any of my other stuff, and they just kind of stay smaller. They're not a big snake. They're
Mhm.
pretty in their own gray, blue, earth tone way. You know, I like them. Their disposition is incredibly chill. My female's a little flighty, but she's not bitey or anything like that. She's just a little like, ugh, don't touch me, get off me. You know.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking it is bedtime.
Is it
Yeah.
bedtime?
Yep.
11:30,
gentlemen.
and we're 2.5 hours. So
It's been a great time.
show is brought to you by
appreciate
Puget
it.
Sound Pythons. Everyone needs to check out Jeff and Kendra. They got some awesome stuff. Find them on Facebook. They have a YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. So
Hey Casey, send me some of those pictures whenever you get a chance. I would like to see what that one screaming female you said looks like. Some updated
Yeah.
stuff.
When she's fired up, I'll take a picture of her, okay?
I appreciate it.
I've been keeping at like an ambient 68 for a while, so she might not be looking that great right now.
Yeah,
But-
I know how it is.
But yeah,
All right,
I'll
y'all.
definitely do that.
All right.
All right.
It's always a pleasure,
Take it easy,
guys.
y'all. Bye.
later.
See ya.